vacation afterwards. I'm sorry, not the national anthem, but the Pledge of Allegiance. You don't want me to sing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we're just thankful for the blessings you've given us as a city. We're thankful for all the employees that work hard every day for us as citizens. We ask you to please be with this commission to make the best decisions for this city. For it's Christ's name we pray. Amen. Okay. Go ahead and call this meeting to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Howard Austin. Ray Cardile.
Here.
Mark Cloud.
Here.
Gary Compton.
Here.
Roy Covert.
Here.
James David.
Here.
Shannon Mueller.
Here.
Peyton Parker. Dale Tyler.
Here. All right. Now we're going to look at the approval for the minutes of October 4th, 2022. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
I'd move to approve the minutes, Dale.
Got a motion from Dr. Compton,
Second.
second by Ms. Mueller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes are approved. We'll start with tabled items. First is large-scale 2249 wagon wheel storage, Phase 2, with variances of B2299, A, B, C, D, E, and F, and G, presented by Anderson Engineering.
Good evening. Here to answer any questions you may have. I believe we have addressed everything to city comment submission, but if not, I'm here to help supplement that or answer any questions.
Do you state your name, please?
Sorry, Micah Sauter with Anderson Engineering.
Staff comments?
Hello. Got the normal standard comments. There's one comment, show the parcel number of the property in prominent font above the legal description. They're in the process of doing a lot combination. I think that has been submitted. Yeah, it has been submitted. Showing the floor area of commercial units divided between their usages. Usage must be shown. They have submitted a variance for commercial design standards, which is going to include landscaping and most of the aesthetics for the building number one. And that covers most of them. There's about 15 comments that the commercial design standards, that variance will cover.
I don't think engineering had any comments on this one.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission? Oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay, I got it. You've applied for a variance for, let's start with landscaping. Foundation landscaping, are you putting the similar amount in other locations to meet the landscaping requirements, or are we still not have enough landscaping?
Yes, we have landscaping spread around the rest of the site to account for what won't be placed on the west side of Building 2, as well as the north side of Building 1 and also its south side. The south side is due to the extreme slopes in between the new driveway in the building on the north side of Building 1, and the west side of Building 2 is due to those being all pavement.
And you're adding additional trees along Wagon Wheel Road behind the sidewalk out of the line of sight?
Yes.
Put the trees back along the front of both this property, this side of the project and the other side as well?
Yes, per
Okay.
the conversation that we had, yeah,
Okay.
we're showing replacing.
Can we go to the pictures of the structures? Okay, these are what the main structure's gonna look like. It's the little building that's on the north side is the one that you're asking for the variance for.
Yes,
And basically, it's an all-metal building with doors on the north side, and the east wall will be all metal. You're not putting any other material on that wall.
to my understanding, correct, yes.
Okay.
It's all metal on the east and west, with the south side with the corners that are expected to be visible from Wagon Wheel Road will be bricked.
Okay. The question is, you can see the building from the road on the east side, the eastern side of that building. But I guess that green space that's shown on the drawings could be a building sometime in the future?
Yes, that is a part of the future Phase 3.
Okay. Breaks in the roof?
I do not believe that there are planned variations of the roof line on Building 1.
On the small building. All of the commercial design standards for materials and design is on that small building, building number 1, correct?
Yes,
Okay, everything else has breaks in the roof, as you see on those drawings.
yes.
Did you do the sidewalk from this location out to Wagon Wheel?
From Building 2, yes, it goes south directly to Wagon Wheel.
And you're convinced you can make that ADA accessible?
Yes, the grading plan shows how ADA path will be maintained per federal guidelines.
Okay, and there's still no connection from Building 2 to the existing sidewalk on the other side of the drive? Chose not to put one in there?
There is an existing one on the north side, up close to Building 1, but otherwise, due to the excessive grades in between Building 2 and the shared drive, it would be extremely difficult to impossible to make that work.
And we talked about adding a handicap space on the south side of the building? Did y'all
That is-
add a handicap space?
That has been added, yes.
Okay, I don't see it on that drawing.
If it is zoomed in on the south side of the Building 2, it should be
Okay,
shown right there.
otherwise, you gotta go all the way around. Oh, I see it, okay. That's the other thing that we talked about. Okay.
To the commission, any questions?
Is there existing buildings that look like Building 1 that you're asking for variance on this site?
Yes, the rendering shows it, but yes, the existing metal buildings on site are a mixture of metal and brick sides. It will match those buildings with the materials used, both the brick and the metal.
But all those other buildings have brick on the south end, don't they?
That was prior to the new Building 2 that is being placed, which will hide the vast majority of Building 1, which is why we have brick shown only on the corners where it is expected to be visible.
I guess we'll start with the variances. We want to do them all together.
Yeah, me too, Dale.
All right, this will be a call for the vote for all the variances, B 2299.
Call for the vote.
Cloud?
Cardell? Yes. Cloud?
Yes.
Compton?
Yes.
Covert?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Mueller?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes, passes 7-0. Next is the large scale. This will be a motion
Motion to approve.
per staff comments.
Motion to approve staff comments.
Motion, Mr. Covert.
Second.
Second, Mr. Cloud.
Cloud?
Yes.
Compton?
Yes.
Covert?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Mueller?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes,
Cardell?
Yes.
passes 7-0. Next, we have the public hearing rezonings. R 2256 Holly Berry Properties from A1 to PUD, presented by Holly Berry Properties.
Good evening, my name is Adam Doherty. Did I go on?
Okay, I got some questions.
Yes, ma'am.
We got an application today that says it is Silverleaf Properties LLC. So what's the name of the owner of the property?
Yes, ma'am, it'll be under Silverleaf. It was, I actually sent it in, the finalized document was today, but we sent it in Friday from the title that had been processed, and the state just finished processing it today, or the county.
Okay, is Silverleaf Properties LLC registered with the Secretary of State?
Yes, ma'am, I did send that over to Sarah. She has the registration and the articles.
Okay, and you're one of the authorized representatives?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I can tell you this has been really hard to follow. Anyway, okay, so now it is owned by Silverleaf Properties LLC.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we'll verify that before we get to council. The comprehensive land use plan indicates medium-density residential and commercial uses for this area. The rezoning request is in keeping with the following goals and policies of the comprehensive land use plan is recommended for approval. Appropriate locations for single-family and multifamily residential development should be based on accessibility, site suitability, utility availability, neighborhood compatibility, and environmental factors. Assure adequate land allocation for residential purposes. Allow an increase in medium or high-density residential use. So as we said, this is a PUD, and we're going to go through all of the details of the PUD itself. This is approximately a 25-acre project that's contained in 2 parcels. And now we're going to say it's Silverleaf Properties LLC is the owner, so the PUD document will need to be updated before we get to council with that changed,
Yes, ma'am.
okay? The PUD is these 2 tracts and 24.99 acres or more or less, or 25 acres. The PUD, as shown on the submitted site plan, represents the entirety of the project. The developer reserves the right to bring additional and other properties into the PUD. Construction is anticipated to take place in 3 phases. So if additional properties are brought into this PUD, then the PUD itself has to be amended,
Yes, ma'am.
okay? Has to go back through the process. The developer intends to begin construction as quickly as practical once construction plans are approved. Anticipated time frame to complete the infrastructure is 18 to 24 months for phase 1. Can we get to the phase? Okay. 30 to 36 months from phase 2. And is that 30 months from the end of phase 1, or is it 30 months from the beginning? And
From the beginning, ma'am.
42 months. 42 to 48 months for phase 3,
From the beginning, ma'am.
from the beginning. So
Yes,
there
ma'am.
could be some overlap in 1, 2, and 3
Yes, ma'am.
going on, okay. That needs to be cleared up.
Yes, ma'am.
So in what we're talking about is they would begin within 18 months to 48 months would be the longest amount of time that this project would be under construction.
Yes, ma'am.
We have legal descriptions for the pieces of property. The PUD shall be called the Shiloh Meadows Plan Unit Development. You intend to include 134 single-family residential lots, 2 commercial lots, and 1 multifamily townhome lot. How many units are on the multifamily townhome lots? We talked about that, and I still don't see it in the document. How many units do you anticipate putting on there? A maximum?
Maximum probably of 20, but we'll come to finalization on that within the construction.
I am so sorry, sir, to ask this, but can you speak just a little closer to the microphone, please? Thank you.
Yes, sir. 20, but we're looking at possibly doing 20 units, but that'll come to a finalization within the construction limitations.
Well, somewhere we gotta know how many lots you're gonna have, how many units you're gonna have in this, because with the PUD, you can't increase the density by a certain amount
Yes, ma'am.
per the ordinance itself. So do you want a maximum of 20, or do you want a maximum of something else? That needs to be included in here because we don't know how many multifamily units are to be included.
Okay.
The developer intends to build and then sell or lease homes on all residential lots, the neighborhood commercial or commercial businesses on the commercial lots, and townhomes on the multifamily lots. However, the developer reserves the right to sell vacant lots as market conditions warrant. And that's both the commercial and residential and townhome lots,
Yes, ma'am.
okay? The lot width will be 40 to 92.67 variable. Lot depths will be no less than 90 up to 120, with a lot area to not be less than 3,600 square feet.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what's the maximum size of a commercial, of a residential lot do you have on here? Is there a maximum size that you can put on?
Maximum size house?
Maximum size lot. How many square feet is the maximum lot size? This all goes into the portion of the ordinance that says there's only certain variations that you can make in it without having to, that's allowed in the PUD document itself. We can come back to that. You'll still have to answer those questions.
Yes, ma'am.
The uses to be allowed in this development includes use unit 1, which is citywide public uses by right, cultural, recreational, and health facilities, single-family dwellings, townhomes, and neighborhood shopping goods. Okay, the cultural, recreational, and health facilities and the neighborhood shopping goods would be exclusive on the commercial lots only,
Yes, ma'am.
okay? That needs to say that. And the townhomes can only be on the multifamily lots.
Yes, ma'am.
You can't mix them in any other place
No.
in the subdivision itself, so that needs to be noted for the location, which one of the use units can go in which locations,
Okay.
okay? The entire site, the ordinance requires 15% minimum being in green space. So you are putting together 3.8 acres of green space provided, which is 15.21%.
Yes, ma'am.
Phase 1 will have 3.49 acres, Phase 2 will have 13.69 acres, and Phase 3 will have 7.75 acres,
Yes, ma'am.
okay? The lot sizes, again, will have a width of 40 to 92, depth of 90 to 128. Again, we need, what is the maximum lot size, square footage? Okay, building setbacks, all residential lots have a front setback of 20 feet and a side yard setback of 5 feet with rear loading garages and 25-foot setbacks and side yard setbacks of 5 feet for front loading garages. So lots 1 through 19 will have the 20-foot front and 5-foot sides. Lots 20 through 38 will have the 25-foot front and 5-foot side. 39 through 74 will have the 20-foot front and the 5-foot sides. And the lot 75 through 134 will have 25-foot front and 5-foot sides. The difference being those that have front-loading garages and those that have rear-loading garages,
Correct, ma'am. Yes.
Rear setbacks in lots 1 through 19 will be 15 feet from the rear access easement, and that's the edge of the alleyway. Lots 20 through 38 will be 15 feet from the rear lot line. Lots 39 through 74 will be 15 feet from the rear access easement. Lot 75 through 134 will be 15 feet from the rear lot line. The commercial lots will have 20 feet on all sides,
Yes, ma'am.
okay? And the multifamily lots will have 20 feet on all sides.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what's the maximum building size can go in a commercial lot or a multifamily lot? We don't have any maximum amounts of building that can be, you gotta meet the parking requirements. As I've told you before, once this is approved, there are no variances or conditional uses in the PUD. So if
Right.
it's not set out in this, there's no way you can get a variance for it.
Okay.
Okay, the applicant proposes this plan with 134 single-family lots. We've been all through that, but we still need the total number of units so we can tell what the density of the project is, because we still don't know how many multifamily units there will be. The development includes an open space throughout the development with 2 large open spaces, one on the east side of Phase 2, designated as a tree preservation area, and one on the northeast side of Phase 3 designated as the park area. When you use the term tree preservation area, what do you mean by that? Is it as an conservation easement placed on top of it? Or I mean, no one can take any trees out of that. Everybody can take trees out. Nobody, what do you mean by a tree preservation area?
An area that's been planted with trees that no one can remove the trees from.
Be planted with trees?
Yes.
Okay. The Phase 3 design has a park area, and do you have any plans or show anything what that park area is gonna look like? Is that the area on the east side that has a trail through it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and does it have any other amenities in there besides the trail?
No, ma'am.
Okay, what surface does the trail have?
Concrete?
And how wide is it?
Hadn't set a standard on how wide yet, ma'am.
Then if you're asking me, I'm gonna say 12 feet.
Okay.
Okay. There's also a volleyball court that's proposed with the development and a common properties A, B, and C to include picnic benches and landscaping. More than 15% of the development is preserved as green space. Okay, where's the volleyball court shown in Phase 2, in that triangle where the Loop Street goes around?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Right.
and that has an alleyway, and each one of those houses have rear loading garages along there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and there's no parking on that side of the street where the volleyball?
No.
Okay. The project is being proposed to provide a style of housing and development that is not widely available in the area. The housing will be similar to the Old Town subdivision in Rogers, which served as inspiration for a housing development. Example home pictures have been provided to the city of Springdale to give a visual representation. Okay, this is what you submitted. This is what you expect these structures to look like.
No, ma'am. They're merely a visual representation. Kind of like what we'd spoken about. We've outlined a minimum square footage, and these are mainly to show what could possibly go in there. As an
Okay.
example.
You
Not
have
as a-
that in the covenant, but you don't have that in the development plan at all. Okay? The
It-
only thing the development plan says that this is a visual representation of the type of structures to go in there. The developer reserves the right to change or modify the home's colors and appearance in accordance with the minimum requirement contained within the covenants and restrictions of the Shiloh Meadows subdivision. So they could be just boxes with nothing.
That have to meet the minimum requirements and standards.
Okay, we'll get to the minimum requirements in a minute, okay? The commercial is being provided in Phase 1 along East Huntsville Avenue to serve as a buffer to the industrial properties adjacent to the subject property. What's that commercial gonna look like? Do you have a standard for that?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I want to say this again. If this gets approved, you have to meet commercial design standards with no variances,
Yes, ma'am.
okay? The multifamily townhome is being proposed to include people that would rather lease as opposed to purchase a home. The theme and aesthetics of the development is meant to attract nurses, police, firefighters, and first responders into the development, to have pleasing landscaping and connectedness to promote community gatherings and involvement. What are the townhomes going to look like? What are the standards for the townhomes? I don't think there's anything in the covenants that address those either. Okay? The residential structures will allow homes to be built with a two-car garage and a drive to allow for 2 additional cars to be parked in the driveway as shown in the attached site plan. Can we get to the site plan? Because I don't see on here where it shows where the cars can be parked, as it says that the 2-car garage and the drive to allow for the 2 additional cars. Is it, you just assuming the entire width of the lot, 2 cars can be parked any there? Or are you gonna tell where the driveways have to be?
That's the wrong site plan, ma'am. That's the old one.
Okay.
That's not the updated version.
Okay, you pull the preliminary plat. So you submitted a revised site plan that shows that?
Yes, ma'am. We sent in all revisions last week.
Okay. The commercial lots are proposed to have the same 20-foot setback on all sides as well as the multifamily townhomes. Each lot will have a 5-foot side 5-foot setback on each side yard. Does that include the townhomes too?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This will allow enough space for each home to have a patio along the side for outdoor activities like grilling and community gathering of neighbors. Eaves or overhangs on the sides of all residential units shall not overhang the 5-foot building setback. Rear setbacks will be 15 feet, which allow for rear loading driveways to have enough space to have 2 additional cars as well as 2-car garages, which will be required in each home. In section 3.13 of the covenants, we have some information about the size of the house, and I'll get to that in a minute. The covenant shall specify exterior building materials requirements, all of which will be required to be high-quality material. Primary building materials will include brick, stone, manufactured stone, wood, and concrete siding such as Hardie brand. Vinyl shall be allowed for a soffit or fascia. So it has to be those materials, can't be anything else on the outside.
No, ma'am.
So it's not primarily, it has to be one of those uses, one of those materials.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
To maintain the aesthetic of the neighborhood.
Okay. The developer reserves the right to sell lots, plans, and elevations of sample single-family homes which are similar in appearance, materials to the plans or home development will build. The subdivisions are enclosed with the development plan. When you say plans and elevations of sample single-family homes, to me that means they gotta look like the ones that you submitted. To facilitate marketing and selling homes, developer may operate a temporary sales office and up to 2 model homes at a time in the development. Okay, where would it be 1 model home per phase?
Yes, ma'am.
2 model homes at a time, so you can have 2 model homes in one phase at a time, or only 1 in each phase?
At each phase.
Okay, and when will they close?
At the
These things are gonna have to be changed before we get to council.
Okay.
Okay? When will the model homes go away?
Finality of the phase.
So every lot has to be sold and built on before the model home goes away?
Well, not necessarily everyone, but as long as they're built and we don't need to show any more, then, or if we have, you know, if it's built out and the last ones are going up in that style,
Okay, how many is the last ones? Is that 25? Is that 2? Is that 15? Is it, you gotta tell us when 25% of the houses have been sold, the model home will go away, or 90%, or however long that model home is gonna be there. And is that going to only be the garage converted to use as an office? Or is it just a house that's set up so that you can look at it with no sales office in it?
since
We
our
talked
office.
about this the other day.
Yes, ma'am. Since our office is right here on Emma in downtown, and we won't be very far away from it, I assume that we use the house as strictly as a model to be able to walk through and allow people to see the finished product, and sales will be operated out of our office.
Okay, then that needs to say this.
Okay.
No sales office will be included in the subdivision. Okay? Can that unit be rented since it's fully furnished
While it's a,
while it's a model home?
no, ma'am.
Okay. Covenants shall include various provisions to ensure the pleasing appearance of the neighborhood is maintained and which are typical of many developments. This shall include but not limited to requirements relating to fences, yard maintenance, and storing trash cans out of sight from the road. The development will have sidewalks along both sides of all the roads and along East Huntsville. 5-foot sidewalks with 2-foot green space.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it needs to say that. 2 common properties at the entrance road for the subdivision signs, landscaping and benches. Common property C will be available for community use with landscaping and benches. A lot for volleyball course will be available for community use. A tree preservation area with a sidewalk, additional landscaping, and a trail with benches will be available for the community in phase 2. So you're gonna have a trail in phase 2 that's not shown in.
It's not shown in this one, ma'am. That's not the updated one. In the updated one, it shows the walking trail within phase 2, and it shows where it goes through there.
When did you submit those? Friday?
No, before, we had it at the last meeting, ma'am.
We've had so
There it
many
is.
submissions, it's hard to keep
This
up with.
one right here, ma'am.
Okay, where's the trail in phase two?
So you see the trail coming down the center there? That's phase two.
The squiggly one in that tree preservation area?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what width would that trail be?
8 feet.
Okay. Home builder will be responsible for installation of 1 tree per lot during house construction. Installation of the tree is a requirement prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy, and the homeowner shall be responsible for the tree's maintenance. Developer will install trees and landscaping in common areas as shown on the landscaping plan. Builder and developer shall provide a standard 1-year warranty for each tree they install. All trees shall be developed, and our homeowner shall be one of the following species, and you list the species. Okay, is the homeowner required to replace the tree if it dies?
Not within the first year, but yes, essentially afterwards.
Okay, does it say that in the covenants?
It
Because I don't
says-
remember seeing it.
It says that they got a standard 1-year warranty for each
Okay, the
tree
builder and the developer puts in one for
for 1 year.
1 year.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the tree dies in year 3, does it have to be put back?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
where does it say that?
It says that the homeowner will be responsible.
For the tree's maintenance
Yes,
and replacement. It needs to say and
and
replacement.
replacement. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Two types of streets, these are gonna be private streets, not dedicated to the public. The west section of Shiloh Meadows Drive at the entrance will have no residential lots fronting it. The access easement is 60 feet wide with a 40.5-foot wide roadway with a middle turn, 5 feet of green space, and 5-foot sidewalks on both sides. Okay? Access to those lots. They'll have no residential lots facing onto those, but the commercial lots will have access to that street. Or will they only have access to those? We talked about that too. Did you identify where the access for that, those 2 commercial lots would be?
We have not yet, ma'am.
Okay. All other drives will have 45-foot access easements with 25-foot roads, back of curb to back of curb, 5 foot of green space, and 5 foot of sidewalks on both sides. Parking allowed along the street?
Yes, on one
Okay.
side.
Is it identified on the site plan which side the parking is allowed?
No, ma'am.
Okay, needs to be shown on
We'll
that.
add it.
And there needs to be tree islands to protect the parking spaces wherever those go in.
Yes, ma'am.
The development does not anticipate any improvement along East Huntsville Avenue. Project includes a single street connection to East Emma Avenue. This requires that all structures have to be sprinklered because it only has one access point. It
Yes,
needs
ma'am.
to say that in here. Every structure has to be sprinkled, okay? Signage of the subdivision will consist of 2 monument signs, one in common property A and the second in common property B. The exterior of the sign will be constructed with primarily stone, brick, and/or metal. The developer shall install landscaping around the sign in accordance with the landscape plan. And the property owners association maintains those signs, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We talked about the time frame. Okay, we're into the covenants of that goes along with this. Indicate that fences, all privacy fences shall be constructed so that the framing shall be toward the inside of the owner's lot, shall be constructed of a maximum height of 6 feet to maintain uniformity. Any fence once constructed must be maintained by the property owner who had it constructed or their successors in interest. No double fences shall be allowed. No fences shall protrude past the front of a home into the front yard or past the rear of the home into the rear yard. So you're only allowing the side yards to be fenced. What kind of material can the sides be? The fences be?
Wood or wrought iron?
Treated wood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that needs to go in there. Okay, nuisances, no nuisances or offensive activities are allowed on any lot or parcel. Signs, no person shall erect or maintain upon any lot or improvement hereon any sign or advertisement except a real estate sign. And when the property is listed for sale, provided however that this restriction did not apply to the developer during development and construction of the subdivision, shall not apply to campaign signs. No animals shall be kept or maintained on any lot except the usual household pets. which shall be kept reasonably confined so as not to become a nuisance. All owners shall comply with applicable laws, ordinances, and regulations concerning animals. They have to have approved trash receptacles that the city has approved. There's no vehicle access to any lot on the premises except from designated streets or roads. No drilling, mining, quarrying, or mining operations of any kind. No communication mast, tower, or structure may be installed on any lot except that satellite dishes may be installed only in the rear roof of a dwelling, rear roof being the roof toward the improved private street, and shall not exceed the height of the lowest ridge line of such dwelling. Any solar panels must be installed only on the roof of a dwelling. Any charging stations for electric vehicles must be located within the garage. No exterior charging stations shall be allowed. Is that commercial areas as well, or only the residential?
Residential.
Okay. Meaning a business can't have a charging station in their parking lot.
No, a business could have a charging station. In their
Okay, then
parking
you need to change this to indicate what happens in the
lot. In the
commercial
commercial,
uses, because it doesn't say anything about that.
okay.
Parking shall be allowed along the south and west sides of the improved private street, but overnight parking along the street shall be prohibited. No vehicles may be parked in front, side, or rear yard at any time. No semi-trailer trucks or commercial vehicles shall be allowed to park in the subdivision, either on the streets or the lots. However, this restriction shall not apply to developer during construction and development of the subdivision. Moving trucks shall be allowed on a short-term basis. Okay, all dwellings in the subdivision shall have a minimum of 800 square feet of heated area on the first floor, and it still says 1,300, but it has 1,200 in the parentheses.
It needs to be 1,300, ma'am.
Is it gonna be 1,300 or
It's going to be
12?
1,300. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. 1,300 square feet overall,
Yes, ma'am.
1,300 square feet on the second floor, and the overall, all dwellings shall have a maximum square footage of 3,000 square feet. So everything has to be two-story?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you need to go back and say that everything has to be two-story.
Okay.
Okay, and what's the height of a two-story structure? Two-story or 35 feet, or is it, I'm looking at Ed.
1020 with the roughly over a 612 pitch roof, so 1020, counting for the 612. Roughly 32 feet,
Okay?
36.
What's the maximum it can be?
Maximum, if you do a 1212, would be 42.
Okay, and that's with the pitch of the roof that you got on here too? You need to put a maximum height?
It's a minimum of, we put a minimum of a 612 on the roof.
Okay, you need to put a maximum height
Okay.
of what the structures can be. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
The minimum and maximum square footage requirements are exclusive of garages, porches, patios, and decks. Irrespective of other provisions regarding amendments of these covenants, the minimum and maximum square footage requirements cannot be amended except with the express approval of the developer and the city of Springdale, which means the PUD has to come back if you're changing any of that.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
make sure you get it right on the front end. All houses will have the option to place a balcony on the second floor front of the house and have a minimum square footage of 100 square feet and a maximum square footage of the length of the front of the house and having a 10-foot width for the face of the exterior material of the house. They have the option. They don't have to have one,
Correct.
okay? That's the only standard we have for the housing right there. That's it. No dwellings shall be erected on any lot other than a detached, single-family dwelling having an enclosed garage. So everything has to have an enclosed garage, including the townhomes,
Yes, ma'am.
okay? All plans for improvement to be constructed on each lot shall be first submitted for review and approval by the ARC. Approval by the ARC must be obtained in writing before construction of any improvement on any lot begins. Developer is exempt from the requirement to obtain written approval from the ARC. However, developers shall be bound to the extent of the minimum standards for construction of all houses, which would otherwise be required and approved by the ARC of the owners contained herein. Enforceability for the developer shall come from the City of Springdale Building Inspector, whose written approval shall be required before obtaining a certificate of occupancy. I know what you're trying to say, but we don't have enough information to know what the developer's gonna build if you're only giving the examples and that's not what they're gonna look like.
So you need architectural design?
Well, are you going to build the houses that you showed us and that's what the developer's gonna do? And if anybody who buys a lot after that wants to build something different, they have to go to the ARC? I'm not sure what you're trying to accomplish. We're trying to figure out what these are gonna look like, what we're going in, and you're giving the developer exemption from getting an ARC approval and saying that is, the building inspector is required to have written approval before they can get a C of O. Well, you need a written approval for the style long before you get a C of O. We need to know what it's gonna look like before you get to that stage. All exterior of all dwellings erected on the lot shall be finished with high-quality materials. Primary building materials will include brick, stone, manufactured stone, wood, and concrete siding. Vinyl siding shall be allowed only above the first floor and shall not exceed 20% of the building exteriors. Soffits and fascias may be covered with steel, vinyl, aluminum, or concrete composition materials. All roof pitches shall be a minimum of 612. No metal roof shall be permitted. Roofs shall be covered with shingles using architectural composition or better. So that's still pretty vague about what the developer's gonna build, okay? Lot maintenance, all lots shall be maintained, mowed, and kept free of noxious weeds, whether they be improved or unimproved, provided, however, that this section shall not apply to developer during construction and development of the subdivision. If the owner allows grass to grow such that it's more than 4 inches high, developer or association has the right, but not the obligation, to have it mowed without giving notice to the owner and shall charge $75 or the amount it costs developer or association to have it mowed, whichever is greater. We gotta have a provision in here that the developer has to keep it mowed. While it's being built, you can't let the grass grow out of hand. The developer has to keep the site looking good. And that,
Just thought in terms, yes, ma'am.
all lots are subject to easements that are shown on the plat. The covenant shall run with the property for a period of 30 years from the date this declaration is recorded. It can be amended. It's got a procedure to amend, but you gotta keep in mind that any amendments has to be approved by the city of Springdale before the covenants can be amended. After the 30 years, and any time within 6 months of the expiration, the owners may express their intention in writing, so drafted and executed, that they no longer care for the covenants and the same shall be terminated. The covenants may be terminated, but the requirements of the PUD does not terminate with covenants. The maintenance and everything has to stay with that, so that you can't put in after 30 years that's terminated. Because once it's approved, it's PUD, it's always a PUD, unless you come back in and have it changed and the council changes it. So that needs to come out of there.
Okay.
No person is required to register as a sex offender pursuant to the Sex Offender Registration Act of 1997 as amended from time to time, shall occupy, rent, reside in of any of the lots, either permanently or temporarily. Sets up a homeowners association, indicates that all lot owners become an automatic member. The developer has 4 votes per lot. The individual owners have 1. Creates a lien on the property for annual assessments. The annual assessment for each lot is $300. Gives them the right to assess a special assessment for the purpose of maintaining the detention pond, the private street, and private street lights devoted to this purpose and related to the use and enjoyment of common properties. $300 a year is not gonna create a lot for everything you have to maintain, including the streets. The special assessment, in addition to the annual assessment authorized, may levy in any assessment year a special assessment applicable to that year only for the purpose of delaying in which or in part the cost of any construction or reconstruction, unexpected repairs or replacement of a described capital improvement upon the common properties, including the necessary fixtures and personal property related thereof, provided that any such assessment shall have the assent of 2/3 of the vote entitled to be cast by members. The city's gonna have to see that there is a plan to maintain the streets and all the common areas. And I'm not sure that the assessment that you have set up here is gonna take care of that. Because there's a lot of common area. Tree preservation areas, a lot of trails, a lot of common area. I'm not sure you've you get that fully identified. It sets up how the association is supposed to operate, how they have late payments, the duties of the board of directors. It does say that seed money provided the developer upon recording of the final plat, the developer shall pay an initial $25,000 into the account of the association to cover any expenses incurred prior to the establishment or stabilization of the subdivision. I guess that's a start. We're gonna have to determine if that's enough in case there's something that happens. That's not a lot of money compared to what all you have in the association itself. It indicates how there is some suspension of rights of membership, cancellations and hearings, subordination of the lien or mortgages, the maintenance of common property. The association have the responsibility of maintaining all common properties, including but not limited to mowing and maintaining of all common properties, maintaining the detention pond situated in lot 149, maintaining the improved private streets and a private street lights, maintaining monument signs and associated landscaping. The association shall use assessments provided for that purpose. And it's not just the maintenance of the street lights, it's also the monthly charge for the street lights. Unless they're common lights, the city doesn't take those on. It also has the rights of the property rights of the common property that all the members have and some miscellaneous stuff for violations. I think that's it. It's a lot of stuff.
Any comments from the audience?
It's a little bit overwhelming.
Please go to the mic, state your name and address.
Patsy, one thing I did not hear was anything about the dimensions of the rear access alleys when you were reading through the streets.
It doesn't say in here what they are. I'm
Okay,
assuming
yep.
it is what it shows on here. But they have
It
to
just shows
be
as an
main-
access easement,
Yeah,
so
I
we
know.
have no idea how wide that alley will be. That's my
Yeah.
comment.
You're right, I didn't catch that. Add that to your list of things that need to be done. What's the width of the access, and they're going to be paved, I assume? No
Yes.
curb, no gutter, nothing like that, correct?
Right.
And they have to be maintained, and I'm assuming that's where the trash service will be for those? Doesn't say anywhere in your covenants what you do for where the trash cans can go, did it? Don't think so.
I don't believe so, but it usually, well, with the rear access, usually the trash receptacles are placed in the rear and picked up in the rear.
All owners shall be required to have a mandatory trash pickup as provided by the city. Trash shall be picked up along the improved private street at the front of the lots. All owners shall remove trash receptacles from the front of their homes and place them in an area out of view once the trash. So even those that have rear-loaded garages, the trash gets picked up in the front?
Okay, yeah,
That's what you want?
yes, sorry.
Okay. There's not any discussion in here about the alleys, and I asked you about no parking along the alleys, but it doesn't say that in here anywhere. So if you park 2 cars in the driveway and a rear-loaded garage, can you park along the alleyway itself?
Mentioned that. Yeah, so I thought we had mentioned in the road provisions that there's no parking along the roads or access roads and no overnight parking.
You said no overnight parking.
Shall be no vehicle access.
Okay, I'm not gonna sit here and look through the rest of it. We've been through enough details as it is now. Okay, and I need comments from engineering about, in just a second, about drainage. About the drainage plan that they're proposing on here. Are y'all comfortable with the detention ponds that they have shown?
From the information that we have provided, we're going to be okay with this drainage plan. I have not seen detailed construction plans yet. Those usually come later. But what is shown is sufficient.
Excuse me, but is that just phase 1, or is that all phases?
The detention facility shown is shown to serve all 3 phases.
So all of the water from this subdivision is going from
It does look small to me.
all the way to that detention pond on the front, because there's only one detention pond? Is there 1 or 2? One detention pond. Where it says phase 1, under where it says phase, that's where the detention pond, no, it's just to the north of that, because that's the commercial lot, and the detention pond is just in that corner up there. Everything's gonna go there. And Katie, have you seen any calculations to show that it can be handled that way?
Yes, we haven't seen like the detailed for each, storm pipe, each inlet. We've just seen the pre and post, and it shows that that pond will handle and mitigate all increases.
Okay. Okay, I'm done. No one can take comments.
Okay,
I'm still
now
now.
you can step to the mic. State your name and address, please.
Yes, my name's Craig Duffy. I live at 101 Preston Lane, which is the 4 acres immediately south of this project. And my concern is about stormwater drain runoff. I've lived on 101 Preston Lane for 39 years, seen my fair share of just moderate storms. I've personally put in 2 French drains on our property to try to control water coming off that slope, and it's an immense amount of water. And we're all aware that East Springdale, Emma, has flooding issues at times. And especially phase 3, there's a wet water stream that comes in kind of where that northeast park is. And I don't see anybody controlling that water. And it's immense how much water, even with 2 French drains, I still have flooding in my crawl space when we have a moderate rain, like an inch and a half of rain. And you're talking about an awful lot of water coming off that slope onto concrete roofs, picking up animal excrement, oils, and being dumped on the Huntsville Road, which already has flooding issues. So my concern is just, this is not very suitable property for a high-density development, but I don't see that there's being adequately addressed where all that stormwater is going to go. That's my comment.
Thank you.
May I speak now?
Yes.
I'm Sheila Duffy. I live at the same address. My comment is going to be taken as not that serious or whatever, but I'm concerned about all the wildlife and the plants. We're going to plant a tree because we're taking down a bunch of trees. To me, that means more runoff, fewer deer. There are a lot of deer up there. Coyote. What was that, a bobcat, or what is that called? So we have a lot of wildlife there, and it's reduced over time, I'll give you that. But we still have, like even on our property, when it's wet, we have acreage that we don't build on, and that property has newts and all kinds of water creatures. There's a special kind of orchid up there. Last time I came to comment years ago, they told me that was endangered. So I'm just thinking of the wildlife and the flora, the fauna, and I'm concerned about it because we love them. Our neighbors love them on all sides. And so I would like to see them love them, and putting in new, cute places or nice little places, perhaps they could put out deer feeding stations, or I don't know. I know that's not sensical because we're not supposed to feed them, and I don't have to. They come, they go as they please, and it's wonderful. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any questions from the commission?
I have a
Oh,
couple.
excuse
Wait
me.
a second.
Wait a second.
I'm sorry. We had a few concerns, fire department had a few concerns about this project, and it keeps changing on us, so I'm trying to keep track of where it's going. So what we did is we moved, it looked like, first of all, we were gonna do rear entry garages and all these, and now we're doing a very, very long cul-de-sac, and those are all front entry. You've got a 23-foot wide street, 25-foot wide street, and you're gonna be parking on one side?
During the day, there would be a parking lot, but it's
Yeah, that's a long way to get a fire truck down when you've only got a 25-foot setback, front setback. We wouldn't want to have any parking on that cul-de-sac in any way, shape or form. So that would be the first thing. Because usually we have a 30-foot setback. Doesn't make a whole lot of difference as far as how much parking you get into a 30 or a 25-foot setback, but it still becomes a problem for the fire department. So we are very happy that you're going to sprinkler all the homes. That means we won't complain about having a long setback, but we do need to have no parking along that one there, and probably the one that runs down the side there where you don't have on the far where you don't have any, so you have no rear entry to any of those there. So you end up having people trying to park on that street all the time. The other issue we have with this is that traditionally, we have an 8-foot side setback. We're reducing to 5, and anytime we get a reduction in side setback, we always ask that the materials on the side be non-combustible. So if we could remove that portion where we have to have, we can use vinyl siding for the top, second story on the sidewalls. We don't care what you do in the back.
Yes, sir. And we restricted it to only 20%
Yeah. Okay.
So that needs to go in the development plan, that the materials on the side setbacks has to be whatever you say is non-combustible.
We would like that, yes.
Okay.
Okay, to the commission.
A couple of questions. What is your green space like around the two trails that you show on this plan?
Yeah. So we've got different seating areas. We've got park benches, areas to walk your dogs, and to jog, and just seated and treed.
Are we talking grass, flowers, trees? What's in the
Combination of
green
all.
space?
Combination of both, or all three, sir.
What is your volleyball courts? Are they sand?
Sand volleyball courts, yes, sir.
What's your percentage of rear entry on your houses?
I believe it's close to 75%. 50. Oh, 50%.
Not 70.
It's close.
I don't think so.
Well, yeah, I got it on. It's about 65%, sir.
You're saying 65% of this development is rear entry
Rear entry, yes, sir.
garage? Why are you pursuing PUD?
To be able to have the commercial, the multifamily, and the single family, to have it all conclusive in a single entity, to have it all together, to make it just an all-inclusive community. Because we're hoping the commercial, our plan is to have the commercial to work with the residential as well, to provide, childcare, to provide cleaning, cleaning clothes or whatever that complements the people that are working and living within the neighborhood.
Yeah, I like those thoughts. I would say that I may be the only one up here, but when I see a PUD development, I expect a lot of information to come with it because you're basically asking us to prove this thing through completion, essentially. And that's hard to do when there's so many questions that we don't know the answers to.
Yes, sir.
And so I would say that I'm not against this type of development, but I like them to be much further along personally. And I don't know if that's outside of my, position to request, but that's me personally, to look at a development like this and not have any more information than what you provide us tonight. It makes it really difficult for me
Yes,
to
sir.
get behind because, we're basically giving you, approval to do this. It's not like there's steps to it. So just want to make that comment.
We had looked at the different applications of zoning, but looking at the project as a whole instead of, looking at just a residential build or just a commercial build or just a multifamily, we looked at something, specifically looked at the PUD because that was something that would kind of go into the community and fit the community as a whole section. And that it could all work together and be something presented to the community and to the city that it's something that's kind of inclusive to the city.
No, I love the idea of offering many services locally. I mean, and like has been mentioned before, Harbor Meadows is still one of the best PUDs in this region. It was done many years ago and has all these things in it.
Yes, sir.
But to vote for something, we have no idea what they look like and things of that nature. It just makes it difficult, is all I'm saying. I'm not saying this project is bad. I'm just saying I don't know if I have enough information.
Yes, sir.
They're also asking for lot widths that aren't allowed in the other zone, because they have lots as narrow as 40 feet.
Yeah, he didn't know what size the lots
was. Yeah, we don't have any zoning classification that it can stand on its own to do a 40-foot lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it has to come in as a PUD.
Yeah, I would have to echo Mr. Cloud's comments. I kind of felt like we were designing this at the table tonight for you. I'm not sure why we're there, but a lot of the questions that Patsy brought up tonight, was this the first time you've heard this request or the first time that staff's brought this up to you?
No, sir. No. Some of the questions were, like a couple of questions may have been the first time that I've heard them.
Okay.
But some of them not. Kind of like the aspect of, the visual aspect for the homes. I know that we're kind of looking for like a minimum quality. So that's where we're kind of looking at the 1,300 square feet, looking at the hardy back design and going premium quality materials because I wasn't quite sure on exactly what the minimum to the maximum was. At the same time, trying to provide something visual, an ideal of what we would like the houses to look like. Not necessarily the exact elevation and the exact projection of what's every single house is going to be built based upon those pictures, but an idea of what we want.
Yeah, I think the
there's-
biggest concern for me, and as I said, I echo Mr. Cloud's comments, is we're looking at, you're wanting our approval to move this forward to council, and this is a, what we say at the earliest onset, 3, 4, 5-year project, right, to go through and put all these houses together. And this is something that's gonna be in the community for a long time. There's nothing that makes this team happier as our staff than to bring more housing to Springdale. Lord knows we need it, and we'd love to see it happen. But it's really hard to vote for something that we don't have all the information on when we're accountable to the citizens of Springdale to give them a good-looking development, but we can't vote for it because we don't feel comfortable voting for it because we don't have it, right?
Right.
We're kind of designing, as I said, we're driving this car as we're building it going down the road, and it's really tough.
Right, right. And I guess maybe it's kind of a little bit of, maybe on my part, a little discrepancy between the actual zoning and then going forward for the architectural planning and development aspect of it. Because, I mean, I understand the aspects of what we need, the basis, kind of like in the housing aspect. I think maybe a little bit of confusion or just lack of my knowledge and understanding the minimum guidelines of what is needed to obtain the zoning needed to move forward to get to the plating and the development and the architectural design to go forward for the development meeting later on. And that's why we tabled that aspect of it, is because I know we're not ready for the architectural and the further development part of it. But that's why we were looking for the zoning aspect of it, because I thought that's what my thought was going for the
But the
minimums to
zoning, the
present
PUD
that part.
puts both of those together, because as Mr. Cloud said, this is our one shot to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, when you do a
Once we
PUD,
approve
you're,
You're ready to go, except for construction details.
you're combining rezoning and large-scale development together. So there's some efficiencies to that, but to get that in return, we need more attention given before you bring it to us, more detail. Because we're basically saying, hey, we'll work with you. We don't have a zone for this development. We're creating a zone just for you.
Right.
But for us to do that, we need a lot of information, and that's what we're saying.
Yes, sir.
And if you didn't know that ahead of time, I apologize. I mean,
No,
Yeah.
I'm not saying, I think it's my own, yeah.
Well, I think you were trying to get this approved before you bought it, but you decided to go ahead and buy it without having the PUD approved.
No, we were working through it the entire way. The intention was to do it from the get-go, ma'am. It's just that was from the plan was from the get-go. But yes, we were trying to move along as through the purchasing process of it as well, too.
So Patsy, just a quick question. I know this item's been tabled before. I don't know where they are in that stage of whether they have the option to table again or whether they do not.
They have the option to table it one more time because they resubmitted to start over. So you can table it one more time to the December meeting without having to re-notify the adjacent property owners.
Okay. So I guess the question is then going to be in your court, do you wish us to vote on what we have tonight to work with? Or do you feel like you need to table it and bring back more information for the December meeting?
Table.
We're gonna table this for applicant. Well, thank you, and we'll see you in December.
All right.
We need authorizations for the new owner name.
I sent them, ma'am.
Okay. Well, we didn't have a file copy of unless it came in late this afternoon.
No, ma'am, last week.
Okay.
We got another PUD to go through.
Yep.
All right, next we have R 2269 Elm Springs Apartments. From MF 16 to another PUD, L 2259. The Ramsey at Springdale with a waiver, 22-20 Waver Street improvements on Bob Mills Road. Presented by Craft and Toll and Associates.
Oh, it's not Connor.
Yes, sir. I'm Tom Henley with Craft and Toll. I think you guys have all the information pertinent to this before you. If I can answer any questions, I'm happy to.
Staff comments?
The adopted comprehensive land use plan indicates commercial use for the area. The rezoning request is in keeping with the following goals and policies as recommended for approval, protect the positive aspects of neighborhood character, encourage the development of a variety of housing types appropriate to the size and incomes of households living and working in Springdale. Multifamily housing should be developed at densities and scale that is compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. Larger multifamily developments should be located on sites with adequate space for off-street parking, accessory structures, recreational activity, and toward the edge of the single-family residential areas where higher traffic generations and taller building heights can be accommodated. So this is a PUD, which will be called the Ramsey at Springdale. We do have a site plan. This one's gonna be a lot simpler to go through, okay? 4 parcels are involved in this process, in this project, located at the southeast corner of Bob Mills Road and Oak Grove Road. It is 13.91 acres to be constructed in one phase. The development strategy is a multifamily, high-density residential development will serve the community in enhancing social connectivity between the residents of the Ramsey at Springdale and the surrounding amenities. It still says Pure Elm Springs in here. Tom, you need to fix that, okay? And the surrounding amenities. Internal sidewalks from all buildings will maximize social and common community interaction. The apartment buildings will be appropriately spaced to promote and encourage relaxation, recreation, and social activity. The permitted uses will be Use Unit 12, high-density residential, and Use Unit 27, a parking lot. We need to add Use Unit 1, citywide uses by right, because we need to get utilities in there. So you need to add Use Unit 1 as well.
Yes, ma'am.
The total developed area, or the total project site, is 13.91 acres. They're proposing 272 units. The impervious area is 7.42 acres. The open space is 6.49 acres. All the buildings will have front setbacks of 30 feet, side setbacks of 8, and rear setbacks of 20. They have sample elevations that are attached to what the buildings will look at. They are providing 1.1 parking stalls per bedroom, 1.65 parking stalls per unit. Total parking spaces required is 429 stalls. Total parking spaces provided is 441 stalls. The amenities included in this project includes interior sidewalks, park with a pavilion, dog park, benches, trees, lawn, swimming pool, and landscaping throughout the site. The exterior building materials will be as follows. The walls will be stone veneer, lap vinyl cement or LP Smart Side, board and batten fiber cement or LP Smart Side and brick veneer. The roofing will be architectural shingles colored to be weathered wood, slate, or terracotta. Corrugated metal roofing and awnings and canopies colored to be galvanized gray or black. The detailed painted steel brackets, balconies, and awnings, cedar or cypress timbers. The windows will be vinyl windows, colors to be white or clay. The exterior doors will be fiberglass painted. It will be with a property management that goes with it. Properties to be remain in a single ownership, with all common areas to be maintained by the owner or through an agreement with a management company. Garages to be used for the parking of the vehicles and shall not be used as storage units or living areas. Parking on the grass is prohibited. The development will be accessed from Oak Grove Road and 48th Street. The sidewalks will be constructed a minimum of 5 feet wide on all common areas as shown on the site plan. Privacy fences are not proposed. No chain link fence will be allowed. Service lines for all public or quasi-public utilities will be located underground. Landscaping will meet requirements set forth within the Springdale Code of Ordinances. They have landscaped front buffer. They have perimeter landscaping. They have street frontage interior with parking lot landscaping as required to meet the required size of a 1 shade tree per 15 parking stalls instead of 1 shade tree per parking island. The number of parking stalls proposed is to provide a minimum of 1.1 stall per bedroom. The total number of bedrooms with this development will be 389. The total number of parking stalls provided will be 441. Based on the experience the developer has with this type of development, we feel this amount will be adequate to accommodate the high-density residential. The sidewalks leading from each building through the site to 48th Street will promote connectivity, walkability between the development and nearby community attractions. Planned landscaping will be
add to the aesthetic pleasure of the streets within and adjacent to the development. Lighting and landscaping will promote security and surveillance. You see what the buildings look like, the different kinds, what they're gonna look like, what the materials are. This is similar to the Pure Springdale project it's on South 56th Street, except it doesn't have the stone, but the stone's required in the overlay district.
I don't think it has Pure doesn't have the balconies either
It doesn't have
that
the
this
balconies,
have.
okay. That's the other, and the little bump outs on this Carlisle building left side. Does it have those little bump outs or those bump outs? Or that just trim on those?
I think those are actual bump
Yeah, I
outs.
think they are too, yeah. So this is what we're gonna get. This is the layout that we have. We saw how it's gonna work. They have asked for a waiver of street improvements on Bob Mills Road, but they have no access to Bob Mills Road. They will be dedicating the right-of-way. And I don't know, did we ask whether you would do payment in lieu of improvements or a bill of assurance for that portion of the street?
No, ma'am, not that I recall. You didn't.
That's something that the council will have to take up, whether they want to waive it completely. You have no access to it.
One question I had, the way we've got this proposed, and I think the way it'll be built out is at 272 units. But I know that once this PUD gets approved, we're locked into it. And so I'm curious whether or not, at the density that we're asking for, is whether or not we could go to the maximum of 322. I don't believe that we're going to get there. We have no intention of changing it, but I'm just curious about that process and what your recommendation might be about either coming back if there is a change to it or just sticking with what we've submitted.
So how would you add more density to it in the layout itself? You would do more three-story buildings than what's proposed?
It's a site adapt footprints that we're using. We've used these. They're designed by Rob Sharp out of Fayetteville, and we've used these buildings in different configurations and different heights, whether it's 2-story or 3-story. And we're happy with staying with the 272. I just am curious about that because I know we're locking ourselves into it.
Well, the ordinance says in a PUD you can't increase it by more than 10%, I think. Let me look. Let's do other questions while I look that up, if there's any others. It says the final development plan shall be deemed to be in substantial compliance with the preliminary development plan, provided the plan does not increase proposed floor area of non-residential uses by more than 5%, increase total building coverage by more than 5%, or increase the total number of dwelling units by more than 5% within a given phase. Fluctuation shall be permissible provided overall density is maintained. So if you don't go over 5% on the final, to get the final development plan approved, you should be fine.
If we're already allowed 5%, I think we're fine with that.
Okay.
Any other comments from the plant, from staff? Any comments from the audience? Question, we got one here. Please state your name and address.
Travis Johnston, 5094 Bob Mills Road, just north of, I guess, is that a pond or the Big Blue up there?
Yeah.
So I get a lot of drainage into my yard. Puddle sits in there. That's going to take care of all that? That's not going to overflow or anything?
Correct. Yeah, that's what it's designed to do.
And is there anything else that's being placed on the north side of that pond between it and Bob Mills Road? Bob Mills Road is extremely narrow. So this isn't going to increase any traffic on Bob Mills Road, you don't think? Or all them people, excuse me, living around Bob Mills Road, you don't think they'll ever go on that road? Okay. Also, my issue is, how long does something like this take to build?
Probably a
Year and a half. I have a special needs son who does his homeschooling and therapy at home outside in our front yard. As you see, we don't have much of a yard besides the front yard that'll be right next to all these apartments. The construction of that, it's going to do a lot of harm to him with his development. We do have our professionals have wrote up our letters for us, or writing them up for us to show that. I'm worried. I do worry about the safety of him as well. With nothing going to be on that road right there, and there's not going to be no fence, there's no barrier or nothing. I would think we could have something put on there if that was gonna happen. But again, the sound, the noise, and everything of the construction for a year and a half to him is not going to do good. That's all I got to say. Thank you. Well, the pond and the whole development. Yes.
And we have a large-scale development plan that goes with two, but we need to approve the PUD, the rezoning before we can look at the large scale. Because we have more of the details when we get to the large scale, but the rezoning is a separate issue.
Any other comments from the audience? Any questions from the commission?
I had a question. What is the material that wraps the stairwells on those units? It looks like wood, but I don't want to assume that it's wood. What is that material, do you know?
I believe that is wood.
Is it cedar treated?
That's an excellent question. I'm not an architect.
Because we know what's going to happen with that wood if it's.
It'll definitely be treated for sure. It's not going to be just raw pressure treated wood. I would imagine it'll probably be cedar and that would be stained.
Sure. And why are you pursuing PUD, not like MF24? Just wondering.
I think in our pre-submittal meetings that we had with staff, they were a little reluctant to just grant us additional zoning, a more dense zoning than what it's currently zoned, without having some input. And so that's the reason we requested the PUD, was so that there could be some negotiation and limitation to the development without just a straight RMF 24 rezoning.
All right, thank you.
Because it was rezoned 16 before. That's a previous zoning. Yeah, it was already to 16, they want to go to 24. And this way we are assured what we're getting. We know what it's going to look like, how it's laid out, how it's going to be maintained.
This is a rezoning. This be a call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Call for the vote, Ms. Mueller.
Compton.
Yes.
Covert.
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Cardell. Cloud.
Yes. Passes 7-0.
Staff will prepare the ordinance that goes to council on the 22nd.
So we need to do the waiver next.
Well, we need to do the large scale.
Large scale first? Okay.
Let's
We'll
do the
go-
large scale.
All right, we'll go to the large scale. Staff comments?
As you know, there's a waiver of street improvements, but otherwise, planning staff has only standard comments.
Engineering staff would recommend that the developer pay a payment in lieu of these street improvements on Bob Mills Road. In addition, please revise the drainage report. Some of the hydrographs had some funky values. I think there was a mistake there. And then please submit a signed and sealed copy of that drainage report. For the street improvements on Oak Grove Road, the widening should go to the property line, and then the taper should be done with striping. We do need the improvements all the way to the property line. And then I'd need a little bit more information about the proposed retaining walls. And please keep in mind that any walls over 4 feet need to be designed by a structural engineer.
Okay, this will be, any comments from the audience on a large scale? Any questions from the commission?
Tom, do you have any concerns with any of the comments?
No, ma'am, we don't have any problem with the staff comments. We don't have the details on the retaining wall yet because we don't know exactly what retaining wall system we're going to use. It's probably worth noting that the detention pond immediately north of the super center is also kind of a fallback. There's additional volume that's available in there. So if we need to modify that during the detailed design, we're able to do that.
Questions from the commission? This will be a motion subject to staff comments.
Motion to approve, subject to staff comments.
Motion, Mr. Colbert.
Second.
Second by Mr. Cloud.
David,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cardell, Cloud,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Move on to the waiver, street improvements. Got any staff comments?
Engineering staff recommendation is payment in lieu of improvements.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission, any questions? Okay. Personally, I agree with engineering. Payment in lieu of would work. Also have a concern about the corner, one coming off Oak Grove Road, turning right onto Bob Mills Road. Are you gonna be able to keep that where traffic can see that corner, traffic coming around the corner? If you're meeting traffic, will you be able to keep a good angle so there's no safety issue with the driving?
I'm not entirely clear on what kind of traffic movement you're talking about. If you could explain it a little bit
Okay,
more.
if you're coming from the north on Bob Mills Road, you make the first curve, then that's when you hit the property,
Uh-huh.
and then you make a second curve coming up to Oak Grove Road. If someone's coming on Oak Grove Road north, and he's trying to, it's a narrow lane, and he's trying to turn right, you have a big sharp corner that during the summer, you can't hardly see around it right now because of all the brush and stuff. Will you be able to keep a safe
Sight distance through there?
sight distance?
Well, we can absolutely verify that, and if we need to do some maintenance on the right-of-way as part of this, and above the money being paid in lieu of improvements, that is not a problem.
Okay, so you're,
We're happy to ensure proper sight distance
okay,
on Bob Mills.
okay, thank you.
Katie, you were saying the taper's on the south end, right? Because this drawing shows that the road tapers
Yes, so
or
so when
spreads
they're
out.
widening it,
Uh-huh.
the full width of the road needs to be widened to that south property line, because then if the next property develops, we'll have a gap.
Okay.
And then the taper that traffic will follow just needs to be done in striping and paint.
You got that right.
Does that make sense?
On the south end. on
Just
the-
so I'm clear, that southeast corner, you want the taper south of our
That
property
curb
line.
needs to come all the way down
Okay.
to the south property line, and
Sure.
then we can just stripe the taper to show
Okay.
people how to.
Okay, on the north side, do they do the same thing? In that they build a curve to where it would meet an intersection with Bob Mills and they stripe it on the,
Yes.
on the north end?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's how you take care of that with the way the curb's built and you stripe it so you can still see that.
That answers my question.
Okay.
All right,
Would be a motion to recommend to council.
this includes the in lieu of payment.
Well, if that's what the motion wants, if that's what you want the motion to be.
Do I hear a motion?
So motion.
And that's to require payment in lieu of?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Cloud, second by Ms. Mueller.
Who second?
Ms. Mueller.
Covert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cardell, Cloud,
Yes.
Compton.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. We'll move on to R-2270, Vic Enterprises, presented by Vic Enterprises.
My name is Victor Barrios. And I'm here to see if we can change that zoning MF2 to MF4.
Staff comments?
The comprehensive land use plan indicates low-density residential use for the property. The rezoning request is in keeping with the following goals and policies as recommended for approval. The replat will have to be approved and filed before a building permit can be issued. It has appropriate locations for single-family and multifamily residential, should be provided based on accessibility, site suitability, utility availability, neighborhood compatibility, and environmental factors. The largest structure you'd be able to put on there is a duplex, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission? Be a call for, or be a motion, subject to staff comment? No, it's a call for a vote.
It's a call for a vote.
I'm getting confused in my old age.
Call for the vote.
Call for vote, Ms. Mueller.
Mueller,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cardell. Cloud,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Next, we have a 22-71 Westdale Holdings, presented by Jacob Tankersley.
Before you start, council, or staff will prepare the ordinance and it'll go to council on the 22nd. I forgot to tell Mr. Arias that. Okay, sorry, we're ready for the next one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm looking to rezone that piece of land right there from agriculture to RF1.
You're Mr. Tankersley.
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you.
SF1.
Yes, sorry.
SF1, yeah. Springdale, it's SF, not RF. Okay.
Any comment or staff comments?
The comprehensive land use plan indicates low-density residential use for the area. There's rezoning request is in keeping with the following goals and policies of the comprehensive land use plan is recommended for approval, protect the positive aspects of neighborhood character, and assure adequate land allocation for residential purposes, and encourage the development of a variety of housing types appropriate to the size and income of all households living and working in Springdale.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission?
Call for the vote.
Call for the vote, Mr. Colbert?
Tyler,
Yes.
Cardell,
Yes.
Cloud. Okay, Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes.
Passes 6-0 with one recuse.
Staff will prepare the ordinance. It goes to council on the 22nd.
Thank you. Next, we have R2272, Tiffany and Shelby Strawn and Dylan Trollinger, presented by Jacob Tankersley.
It's me
You're
again.
there. You got staff comments?
The comprehensive land use plan indicates low-density residential use for the area. The rezoning request is not in keeping with the comprehensive land use plan. Is not recommended for approval.
Any comments from the audience? Questions from the commission? This will be a call for the vote. Mr. Cardio?
Cardell. Yes. Cloud. Compton,
No.
Covert,
No.
David,
No.
Mueller,
No.
Tyler.
No.
Okay, 1 yes, 5 no.
That fails 1-6 with one recuse.
You have the right to appeal the planning commission's decision to the city council. You have to file your appeal within 15 days from the day of the meeting. You have to state in writing why you think the planning commission's decision was an error, and you have to notify the adjacent property owners. Okay?
Next, we have R2273, Turner Street Properties, presented by ESI.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jason Apple with ESI. Here asking the commission to rezone this piece of property from C2 to I1. I'll answer any questions.
Staff comments?
The adopted comprehensive land use plan indicates commercial use for the area. The rezoning request is not in keeping with the comprehensive land use plan and is not recommended for approval.
Any comments from the audience? Commission?
Call for the vote.
Call for vote, Mr. Colbert.
Okay, where am I? Cloud? Compton?
No.
Covert?
No.
David?
No.
Mueller?
No.
Tyler?
No.
Cardell?
This fails 0-7.
You have the right to appeal the planning commission's decision to the city council. You have to file your appeal within 15 days, indicating why you think the planning commission's decision was an error, and you have to notify the adjacent property owners.
Move on to R2274 Partners Construction, presented by ESI.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jason Apple with ESI. This property is northwest corner of Central Drive and South 48th Street, requesting rezone change to C6, and I'll answer any questions.
Staff comments?
The adopted comprehensive land use plan indicates commercial use for the area. The rezoning request is not in keeping with the comprehensive land use plan, not recommended for approval. A downgrade to a C5 district would be in keeping with the adopted comprehensive land use plan. When would be recommended for approval, the proposed uses of this piece of property would be a permitted use as a use unit 38 in a C5.
Any comments from the audience?
I think we got Philip to make
Yeah.
a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Philip Taldo with Partners Construction. I just want to clarify the down zone to C5 that we'll be able to do the same project that we had discussed with Patsy originally.
Considered to be a use unit 38, which is
Yes.
a permitted use in a C5, yes.
Okay.
So you're willing to downgrade it to a C5?
Yes.
Okay. You're requesting that it be downgraded to a C5?
Yes.
Okay.
Any questions from the commission? This will be a call for the vote. Call for Mr. Colbert.
Compton?
Yes.
Covert?
Yes.
David?
Recuse.
Mueller?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Cardell?
Yes.
Cloud?
Yes. Passes 6-0 with one recuse.
Staff will prepare the ordinance to the downgraded C5 request and go to council on the 22nd.
Next, we got R2275 Commercial Space LLC, presented by ESI.
This property is just north of the Partners piece we just looked at. We'd also request a downgrade to C5 at this point.
You're going to request to downgrade it to C5 as well? Okay. The comprehensive land use plan indicates commercial use for the area. The C6 request wasn't in keeping with that, but the C5 would be recommended for approval.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission, be a call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Call for vote, Ms. Mueller.
Covert?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Mueller?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Cardell?
Yes.
Cloud?
Yes.
Compton?
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Staff will prepare the ordinance for the downgrade to C5 and go to council on the 22nd.
Thank you.
Move on to public hearing, conditional use. C2220 Ozarks Electric with large scale 2258, variance B2296 and waiver 2219, presented by Craft and Toll and Associates.
Yes, sir. I'm Tom Henley with Craft and Toll. Ozarks Electric is wanting to build a kind of a scaled-down operations center from the one that they have in Fayetteville out on 412 across from the Tractor Supply by the solar panel farm. And so there is, as you see before you, a waiver for street improvements in front of 412 on East Robinson, and then the variance that we're requesting is for a gravel laydown yard. They've got a bunch of poles, that sort of thing, that not only do they do billing operations and that sort of thing, you can make your payments and that type of stuff, but they also have trucks and poles and transformers and that sort of thing. And so they're asking for, to be able to put a gravel laydown yard out there. And then I think you've got the large scale before you, so.
Staff comments?
The request is for a use unit 3, which is utility facilities as a conditional use in an A1 zone. The ingress and egress to the property is acceptable. The off-street parking and loading is acceptable. The refuge and service area is acceptable. Utilities are acceptable. Screening is acceptable. Sign is acceptable. Yard requirements are acceptable. Size and shape is acceptable. The proposed landscapes meets the requirements of the ordinance is acceptable. And it's generally compatible in accordance with the approval of the large-scale 22-58. So it's a call for the vote on the conditional use first.
Okay. Do we have any comments up there?
Ron has comments
Sorry,
about
yes,
the large
on
scale
the large
first.
scale, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
we
what we were
need to
just
vote
talking
on the conditional use first.
Okay. We'll start with additional use. That'd be a
Call for the vote on conditional use.
Call for vote, Mr. Covert.
David,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cardell,
Yes.
Cloud,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert.
Yes.
Conditional use passes 7-0.
Staff will prepare the resolution, goes to council on the 22nd.
Now we do the large scale.
Ron has some comments.
For planning on the large scale, we have the normal standard comments, and then the comment about all storage areas are to be paved or chip sealed, which they have a variance that's been requested, and then a waiver for sidewalks, street improvements, 412, it's also has a waiver that's been submitted. And other than that, for planning, it's just standard comments.
I don't think we have any more comments from engineering on this one.
Any comments from the audience? Commission?
Well, this be gated entrance.
Yes, I have a question about the Ozark Electric.
Could you state your name and address, please?
Ed Gay, 2746 Hilton Road.
Okay.
I just have a question about the retention ponds and what would happen with the runoff. And will it go down and then cross underneath the road and then come down? And it would, there's a great deal of runoff into the apple orchard on the south side of 412 and on the east side of the neighborhood market. Just a concern in that area because the water right now coming off of the neighborhood market is quite a lot. I just question about where the retention ponds will handle that. Will we have a problem in the future?
Katie, you want to address that?
So Springdale ordinance requires that any increase in stormwater that they create on the site due to added impervious area, they have to mitigate that in some way. So those ponds are designed to not increase any of the water that leaves the site. The amount of water on the site will be more because of the impervious area. But the ponds will offset that increase. That is the point. I did ask, and I'm sorry, I'm not sure which one is your property. They are upsizing the culvert underneath Hilton, Haberton. Which one is that one?
It's
No.
actually Friendship, right?
Friendship.
Oh, this side.
It's actually Friendship.
Friendship.
Yes.
My bad. But I did confirm with them that the flow that comes underneath Friendship will not be increased. Does that answer your questions?
I think there was a comment about whether or not it'd be fenced, and if I could follow up on Katie's comment, the runoff, the trade-off with detention is that we we limit the amount of flow coming off the site to what it was previously prior to development, but it runs off longer than it does now. So that's the trade-off with detention. The laydown yard will be fenced. The administration building on the, it's actually the southwest corner, that whole area will be open, similar to what is on Weddington down in Fayetteville. But the laydown yard will be secured with a fence and gated.
Does the brown represent gravel? Is that what the brown portion of this is?
That is correct. And I'm trying to differentiate, I apologize, I'm
That's
trying to
fine.
differentiate between the two different hatches that we have up there, but
The bigger
that's what
circles
it
is
is.
the
So the
gravel
one
area.
around the maintenance area that's got the smaller specs is heavy-duty concrete, and then the larger circles is the gravel laydown areas.
You have covered parking for your trucks and stuff in that heavy-duty concrete area. It's a covered parking area, right?
I'm sorry, say that again.
The covered parking area that's in the center of that is where they park their trucks and stuff at night. And they got a cover over them, and there's
Yes, ma'am.
concrete there.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other comments, questions from the commission? This will be a motion subject to staff comments.
Motion subject to staff comments.
Motion by Ms. Mueller.
Second by Mr. David.
All right, Will, second by Mr. David.
Mueller,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cardell,
Yes.
Cloud,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David.
Yes. Passes 7-0. Next, we got a variance for paving requirement. Any staff comments?
And I think those are areas where would warrant gravel areas.
Any comments from the audience? Be to the commission, it'd be a call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Call for vote, Mr. Covert.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cardell,
Yes.
Cloud,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David, don't,
Yeah.
David, sorry. Mueller,
Yes.
Passes 7-0. And next, we'll go to waiver the sidewalk requirement on East Robinson.
We don't normally recommend for waiver of sidewalks, but this is along State Highway. 412, I'm not sure the highway department will let you put a sidewalk in there anyway, so.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission, it'd be a call for the vote. No.
This is a motion to recommend to council waiver of the.
No. Motion to recommend to council the waiver.
So moved.
Motion, Ms. Mueller. Here's a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Culver.
Cardell,
Yes.
Cloud,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes. Waiver passes 7-0. Move on to RP 2216. Og Brown Commercial Edition, presented by Bates and Associates.
Good evening, Justin Reed with Bates and Associates. Here representing this replat of Lot 2 into a total of 2 new lots. And I would be happy to answer any questions anybody might have.
Staff comments?
Can you go to the next slide?
Planning staff only has standard comments remaining for this replat.
Any engineering comments? Basically, they've agreed to share the driveway and be another fast food restaurant to go in there. And they don't, the large scale doesn't have to come back because it is an approved commercial subdivision
and those can be handled at the staff level as long as there's no variances.
Any comments from the audience? Speak to the commission.
This is a motion subject to staff comments.
Motion subject to staff comments.
Motion to Mr. Colbert. Second. Second to Mr. Cloud.
Cloud,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cardell.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
If you want this to go to council next Tuesday evening, we need the ordinance in our office by tomorrow at 5.
Thank you.
Next is RP 2217 Silent No subdivision with a variance B 22-107, presented by Bates and Associates and Stephen Lindsay.
Hello, I'm Stephen Lindsay. I'm the property owner.
Staff comments?
We're combining 3 lots into one.
We're adding one additional lot to a replat that was done a couple of years ago that combined 3 into 1. So we're adding one more lot onto my lot.
Okay.
Planning staff comments is that the applicant will need to complete the sidewalk around their portion of the cul-de-sac prior to this replat being filed. On the plat itself, please update the streets and drainage signature line from Director of Public Works to City Engineer, and the remaining are standard comments.
Engineering comments?
I don't know if you want to talk about the fence now.
Well, we're talking about the replat first.
Okay, no comments on the replat. The fence is fine, though.
You understand that the sidewalk needs to be completed before that replat can be filed, or you have to bond for it.
I do understand. I'm working on getting a quote on what that's going to cost, and then I'll have to figure out what the timeline is for
If you can get
exactly what that
If you
is.
can get a quote, we can do a payment, a bond, which is 1.5 times that cost that you deposit that amount with the city, or you can come in with a bonding company to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission? The motion subject to staff comments?
So motion.
Motion, Mr. Cloud.
Second.
Second by Ms. Mueller.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cardell,
Yes.
Cloud.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
If you want this to go to council next Tuesday evening, the ordinance needs to be in our office by 5 o'clock tomorrow.
Next, we have a variance for increased front fence height from 3 to 6 feet. Staff comments?
So you're proposing, or the fence is already constructed at the back of the right-of-way line, all the way around the cul-de-sac, rather than at the front setback where front fence would normally be allowed?
Correct.
Okay.
A little bit of history on how this occurred. I had a slip and slide on the hillside with a pool at the end last year. Code enforcement came by, told me that the pool had to be inside of a fenced area. I worked through a few things and ended up taking it down. So I intended to put up the fence so that I could once again put up my slip and slide so my son can have a place to play during the summer and some of our friends. So I called the building department to get to find out what I needed to do for a permit for the fence. And knowing that this is a undeveloped lot and knowing what was going on, when I went down to the building department and talked with them, they said it's not really us, it's really code enforcement. So we got on the phone with one of the member of the building department, called code enforcement, and we talked about it. And they said, we understand this. I don't see how anyone could look at this and say it's not a backyard or a side yard. I don't think you'll have a problem. Do I need to get a permit? No, that is not our process. Okay. It took me time to get funds. This summer, I built a fence. After the fence was built, I was visited by a member of the planning department who told me that it was in violation of the rules. And now we're where we stand today, where I'm trying to get a variance for something that I have already built. Everyone in the planning department has been perfectly nice. All of the all the various departments have been very nice to me in their discussions. it is very frustrating as a citizen of the city. I understand why the rules are. I definitely understand. It's very frustrating that the process to get here was not clear to the other city departments or set up in the way our rules for the city are supposed to be done. And if that needs to go to a city council meeting to be resolved, then I intend to be at a city council meeting to talk with them. I spoke with Mayor Sprouse on the way in about this. It is very frustrating. I was trying very hard to do the right thing and make sure that I had taken care of what I needed to take care of before I ever built this fence. It's 500 feet of fence and it's quite expensive, so it took me a while to come up with the money. And I guess if you decline it, I have to tear down my fence. I don't see a problem with it myself, understanding that I know what the rules are, and I apologize. But I'm trying to make use of the land that I own for the enjoyment of my family. And I'm trying very hard not to necessarily mess with any of the city ordinances, you know, if I can avoid it. Certainly trying to follow the rules. So the fence is, as it stands today, it is about 1 foot off of my property lines. I had it surveyed prior to construction.
And this is a very unusual circumstance where we had so many lots combined into one that has frontage on another street. I don't know of any other place that this has ever happened.
Right.
And we don't have a permitting process for a fence, unfortunately.
And I understand that.
Yeah.
And
We've had several conversations about that, maybe something we need
It-
to look at.
I would implore whichever department needs to make those changes. If it's the council that needs to make changes to the regulations, that should happen. You don't drop down $10,000 or $15,000 on a fence only to be told you're going to have to tear it down. That really makes someone upset.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission?
Katie, did you have a comment? Sorry.
We do look at site distances when we have an increase in fence height from 3 to 6 like this. Since that is a cul-de-sac, there were no site issues, there's no intersections to worry about. And then also on Silent Grove, there's not a site issue pulling out onto the street either.
What size is your gate that's shown in that picture? Is that just a
That is
pedestrian
the-
gate or
That
bigger
is
than
the
that?
upper gate, and it is a 6-foot gate. I have another gate at the bottom next to my shop that's a 12-foot gate.
Are you intending to put a curb cut in there where you can drive, or are you just gonna jump the curb if you take something in
It
on
is
that
not
side?
an access point. It is strictly there if
So you can get out and
utilities
mow
or
the
anyone
grass.
else needs anything. I'm mowing it, and to get out to mow it, it's strictly for those purposes.
Your call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Call for the vote, Mr. Covert.
Covert,
It was fun for a
I
little.
do want to be very clear, a yes vote is letting the fence stay, correct? We are, okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Just like it is.
David,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cardell,
Yes.
Cloud,
Yes.
Compton.
Yes. Passes 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next we have final plat 2206 Springdale's Best Storage, presented by Bates and Associates.
Good evening. Justin Reed with Bates and Associates, representing this final plat, which is platting one property into 6 lots. And I would be happy to answer any questions.
Staff comments?
Can you go to the plat itself?
Applicant will need to bond or have a bill of assurance for street improvements to Emma and Castile prior to filing this final plat, and the rest of the comments are standard.
Engineering also only has standard comments.
So you good with bonding or doing a bill of assurance for the street improvements for both?
Yes, ma'am.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission? Be a motion, subject to staff comments?
Motion subject to staff comments.
Motion by Mr. Colbert. Here's a second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Mueller.
David,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cardell,
Yes.
Cloud,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
You want this to go to council next Tuesday? The ordinance needs to be in our office by tomorrow at 5.
All right, thank you.
Move on to large-scale developments. We have L 2257, I-49 Industrial Park Phase 2, with variance B 2297 and a waiver 2218 presented by Half and Associates.
Hi, my name's Joanne Johnson. I'm with Half Associates. I'm here to answer any questions.
Staff comments?
Can we go to the large scale, please?
Let me find it here. We have the normal staff comment or standard comments. A landscaping plan. They're asking for a variance for foundational landscaping and OPEC screening. Those both have been submitted. A lighting plan is required, displaying at least 1-foot candle in parking and pedestrian areas. And then we also have a waiver for street improvements that has been submitted. And that's all the comments we have.
Street improvements on Apple Blossom and Graham are required, for which a waiver has been requested, and engineering recommends a payment in lieu or bill of assurance for these improvements. I'm also curious about the interior access road. I think it's shown as a temporary road currently, and this phase will build a portion of it. Is that intended to be completed with this project, or will this development use Apple Blossom as its only entrance and exit?
You're talking about just that road right there, right?
Yeah, because that road, it'll be access from Apple Blossom and it's going to snake through because there's phase 1 that is off to the east and it's going to connect to that
With this phase or with the?
with the next phase.
Okay, so all the access for this structure is going to be on Apple Blossom.
Correct.
Okay.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission?
So are you saying the temporary access road to the right of the building as we look at it, that's for future phases and that will be completed for phases in the future?
Yes, that's correct.
It's gravel now all the way through. And it won't be it won't be finished out until the next phase is submitted.
Correct.
Remember, the new buildings that are being built on the east side of this piece of property will have access to Dixieland when it's completed through. And then this will connect through and get to Dixieland when the next phase is completed as well.
Okay, large scale be motion subject to staff comments.
We not gonna do the variance and
Did we do the waivers first?
Yeah, we need to do the
Okay.
variances and waivers.
All right, we'll start with the variance, 2297. Variance for commercial designs. This will be any questions?
You're doing additional landscaping to compensate for not doing foundation landscaping, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And all your parking and accesses, there's 2 access points on Apple Blossom, nothing on Graham. Correct? So you're asking for waiver of street improvements on Graham. We will get a lighting plan.
Correct.
There is a curb that's been installed along that, so there's only one access into this property off of that street, or that proposed access in there, so you can't back in and out all the way down through that. And the current concrete batch plant will be moved to the south of this property.
Yes, that's
When this
correct.
development occurs. And that concrete batch plant is for concrete on-site only, correct?
That's correct.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission? This will be a call for the, no, this will be a call for the vote.
This is on the variances.
Call for the vote. Call for Mr. Covert.
Mueller,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cordell,
Yes.
Cloud,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. So now we go to large scale.
The waiver.
Oh, we got a waiver.
Waiver and engineering recommendation is payment in lieu of improvements or bill of assurance. Is either one of those acceptable? Katie? Yes? Okay.
Is that's something you're willing to do?
Yes.
Okay, so we're,
And we'll calculate the amount when we get a little bit further along. We haven't had time to sit down and calculate that.
so we're doing a call for the vote for the waiver.
What's a motion?
This
It's
is a
motion.
recommendation to
Right,
council
okay.
for payment of lieu or a bill of
Recommendation.
insurance. They coming after us?
I think they're coming
Have
after
we been
me.
here too long? Overstayed our
So we
welcome.
need a motion for recommendation to council with payment in lieu of.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Mueller,
Second.
second by Mr. Covert.
Yeah.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cordell,
Yes.
Cloud,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Now we can go to the large scale.
Motion and
All right. Large scale be motion subject to staff comments.
Motion subject to staff comments.
Motion by Mr. Covert,
Second.
second by Ms. Mueller.
Cordell,
Yes.
Cloud,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes. Passes 7-0. And I think we're all ready for, or at least two of us up here are ready for a break. We'll take about a, 5-minute break? Sure. 5-minute break? We got we're going to go to L 2261 roller hanger with the variance B 2298 presented by ESI.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jason Apple with ESI. This is the second hangar in kind of a group of four that's been planned for this area, just north of Ford Avenue. We're proposing a 10,000 square foot hangar. We do have a couple variance requests, but I'll answer any questions.
Sharon, can you move the slide?
Staff comments.
Staff comments. Foundation landscaping is required in which a variance has been requested. Provide at least two of the items listed under central feature and community spaces in the Springdale Commercial Design Standards, and a variance has been requested, and all the remaining are standard comments.
On the landscaping, are you providing additional landscaping as opposed to the foundation landscaping along the front and the other portions?
No, ma'am, basically everything's either paved or the hangar on this site. We're providing the landscaping along 265.
Okay, along the foundation, but on the side where the airplane comes out, you don't have any foundation landscaping on that side. What about, and there's none between the two buildings, is that area paved too?
No, it's green, but, it's between the two hangars, so that's our request.
Can we go to another, is that the only two drawings? Do you have the elevations of what it looks like? There we go. It looks like a hangar with a little office area on the front.
Yeah, the little appendage to the south there.
Yeah. I don't have anything else.
Engineering?
We just have more of a question. We have a trail shown on the plans, and I'm wondering which phase of development this will be constructed with, along with the access road to get to the hangar.
I think that's a discussion we gotta have with the airport commission. And I think we're meeting in the next couple of days to kind of figure out how all this, because there's two more hangars that's being proposed at the site too. So I think we'll have some answers to that after we have that next meeting, okay? And the fire department authorized the temporary access road to be gravel, correct? Ed?
On the previous project, yes.
Okay. With the understanding that this has to be done when we get through with all four of them, I think. We're gonna
Yeah,
have to
I mean,
work that
I
out.
think the intent for what this phase or this hangar is that we're gonna pave the drive, on the south side of the hangar.
Yeah.
And to the exit point. So that's our understanding what's
Oh,
gonna
you
happen.
will be paving on this one? Okay, let's back the drawing up. You'll be paving the drive from where you come around from the end of the parking lot all the way out and go up to where it goes into the entrance
Yes.
or to the exit, but not do the sidewalk.
I think the sidewalk's being done with the first phase. It's not? Okay, it was on their plan, so that's why I was.
I don't know if it is or
Okay.
not. We'll have to work through all those
Gotcha.
details with the airport commission. We're not exactly
I
sure
got you.
how all this is gonna work. Okay.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission? Guess we'll do the variance this time first.
For the vote.
We got a call for the vote. Mr. Cloud, is that right?
Yep.
He said, let's get this going.
Are you gonna take both of these
Yes.
together?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Deb. Sure.
Okay. Cloud,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cardell.
Passes 7-0. Move on to the large scale. This will be a call for, or this will be a motion, subject to staff comments.
Motion subject to staff comments.
Motion by Ms. Mueller,
Second.
second by Mr. Kohler.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cardell, Cloud.
Yes. Passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Move on to L 2262, Second Nature Landscaping with a variance for paving requirement presented by Swope Engineering.
Phil Swope here to answer any questions you've got.
Staff comments?
There's a variance request for paving requirements. Comment responses noted that the proposed improvements are in preparation for future development. Please provide a definitive answer describing the order of the subsequent development and the intended date of completion. Please address when commercial design standards, a unified lighting plan, parking calculations, dimensions, and landscaping requirements will be met. And I will note that there was a narrative provided today by the applicant.
Okay, I gotta ask some questions. You're doing this, you're wanting to do this infrastructure only as just a gravel driveway?
No, it's a paved driveway and it's a crossing, there's a culvert crossing there. The variance on the paving is really the existing, some existing parking areas and laydown areas for his business we want them just to stay that way. We're not proposing any new buildings on this project. And
But you're building a new access for it that goes well beyond where his existing building is.
yeah, while we've got the driveway built, we wanted to go ahead and get it across the drainage ditch that's there so that's done for when it's time to actually build the buildings.
We don't normally do a infrastructure like this without knowing what the proposed layout of the large scale is, so we know that this is gonna work with something. This is a very unusual request in an area where we have so much floodplain and all that kind of stuff to do. I mean, why?
I mean, we met with you guys and showed the
I
whole
know.
layout of buildings and parking, and I can present that again. It's just that at this time, he's not ready to go forward with that
Well, I
part.
understand that. We're not telling him he has to go forward with it, but you're asking the planning commission to approve an extension of the road that we have no idea that it's gonna work. We saw a proposed layout. I thought that's what you were gonna submit and show as phase one would be just this part right here, and the other two phases would be in the future with no time
Yeah.
frame. But we would at least know how it all goes together.
Yeah, well, and maybe it backfired on us, but honestly, we were trying to keep it simple and not bring up the confusion of what kind of buildings we've got in mind or what kind of commercial design standards there would be, because we're really not dealing with that, or we're not dealing with new parking lots or lighting plans that are needed at this time. We're just needing a new driveway so that the lot can be split and we can dedicate that one driveway for two lots. We'd be happy to bring back that layout that we showed you at the staff meeting, if that's helpful. Really, this is just a grading and a driveway construction project. I guess initially we thought this was just a staff level review and approval. And so we're happy to go through large scale, but we're not, the owner's not ready to move forward with a full project at this time.
But yet he wants us to give him approval to build a driveway all the way down to something that we don't know what it's going to. That's just very unusual. We don't normally do it that way. That's up to you guys if you're comfortable with doing this or not.
So just, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead if you have,
Oh,
if you
no,
have
no.
something you want to say.
I was just gonna say, what would make you more comfortable with that, Patsy? I guess I'm not totally tracking.
Well, I thought you were gonna submit what we looked at.
Yeah.
With the buildings that were on the south side where you could bring the sewer in, whether we, and not asked to do commercial design standards for all that, just as a general layout so we know how this is gonna work. And if it's paved down to that point, what keeps people from going down there and parking on that lot and using it to park vehicles and stuff like that on it? I mean, it opens up a whole can of worms when we pave it down. We don't have any idea what's going on with the rest of it.
Yeah. I mean, we're happy to bring that through. It's really a private drive. I mean, just like any other private drive, people could try to park on it, but if the owner says they need to leave, then they're forced to leave or towed away. I mean, I don't know. We thought this was really the simplest form, is just to offer some infrastructure improvements at this time that were all private, but would allow the lot split to move forward, and that would just get us one step closer to a full large scale.
How long has that business been in operation at that
I
location?
don't know. I think a while.
What type of business is it?
It's a landscaping business.
Are you showing basically a parking lot at the end of the drive? Is that what you're showing at the back? Or the bottom that wides
No,
out?
No, and I don't know why it flares out like that. There's not really a good reason for that.
Would the building that you show the staff, is it in front of that rectangle or in
Oh,
general?
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the new one. I'm following now. Over on the west side, you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are existing buildings,
There's an existing
but
old,
you're adding on to one.
not at this time.
Oh, we're not even doing that.
No, we're not. I'm not doing any buildings on this project. This is just an infrastructure project.
Just this driveway.
This is dirt work, a driveway, and culverts under the.
But you
new
gotta go
driveway.
ahead and split it now?
We'd like to, yeah. And this driveway lets that split be legal. But yeah, it's an old house that was there. That was built as a house years ago and is now used as an office. It has been for a while. I mean, eventually, the idea is some flex office space would be used for both a little bit of office, but mostly warehouse type storage or just flex use.
Are you okay tabling and bringing it back with the more detailed layout?
Sure.
So we just kind of understand what the future of it's going to be?
And I apologize.
That's fine.
We thought we were making this thing simpler.
Yeah,
so
sure.
It sounds like we did the opposite.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
so.
yeah, we'll bring it back to you that way.
Thank
No
you.
problem. Thank you.
Thank you. This table for after. Move on to Piney Ridge Treatment Center, L 2263. Variance B 22-101, presented by Philip Lewis Engineering.
Good evening, Philip Lewis Engineering, and we've gone through the process. I think you have all the information in the packet we provided, so open to any questions that y'all might have from staff.
Staff comments?
When a commercial development includes a fence or a wall, the maximum height of a fence or wall shall be 8 feet. There's been a variance requested for a fence of 11 feet, 8 inches. There's also been a request for foundation landscaping, and I'm of the understanding that the same amount will be used, just allocated around the perimeter of the fence rather than the foundation of the buildings. And the remaining are standard staff comments.
Only engineering comment is that the storm pipe at the pond outlet is still shown as 12 inches and it needs to be upsized to 18 inches.
Any comments from the audience? Please state your name and address.
Dan Hinkson, 16556 East Hewitt Springs Road, Springdales. And I attend Friendship Church, which if you would bring up the plot plan that shows the whole deal there. I had a really nice visit with Justin Hoover today and toured their facilities, and so we feel real comfortable and we want to be good neighbors. There were several concerns for some of the people in our congregation. We have, if you look, let's see, get oriented, there were the second plat over to the right from, there you go, yes, so that's our church right there. We have on the west side, which would be the left side, we have a playground, we have Bible school every Wednesday night, weather permitting. We've got children out there, so naturally, we're just concerned, actually, in 2016, when this first came up, at that point, it was a lot more emphasis put on the treatment for the sexually maladjusted. That's probably not the right term. I'm sorry, Justin, but there was some concern. So that's my only issue today. I want to commend them. I went through their facility. I think you'd all be impressed with it, both with the caliber of people and facilities and so forth. But the concern of some of the people was just that problematic sexual behavior that's complicated by mental illness. And they have good security system and all that. So please don't misinterpret what we're saying. Hey, the gospel's all about salvaging and giving people second and third and fourth chances, okay? So, and that's what you all are doing there too. But we were wondering if they could work with us somehow so that when we're having services and like Bible school and special events, if there happened to be what they term an elopement, that's most of us would call that an escape, but basically an elopement, that we would maybe have some kind of notification if that was the case. I know that probably is not going to happen. And then secondly, when you look at the websites and all, and from what Justin had said, that they don't have any registered sex offenders there. And by that, you could do a better job defining that, but, none fully adjudicated, but none in the registry. And I know that you guys you need to do what you need to do, and so please don't take this as an abrasive or offensive thing. We're just trying to watch out for the kids and people that come to our church, just like we have a security team. This is just kind of preemptive, looking forward, and probably nothing will ever happen, but that was kind of a concern we thought was reasonable. Hey, if there is something like that, let us know so that we can take precautions. Does that make sense? And by the way, I appreciate all of you taking your time, and we've lived here 18 years, and how the town has grown, but it hasn't grown wildly. It's been by order, and you all dedicating and using your expertise, we really appreciate it. Just like we appreciate the police and firemen and all that too, but thank you for that. But if there's anything on along those lines, if you have any ideas or input, we'd appreciate it, okay? Any questions or thoughts on that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Felicia Gay, 2746 Hilton Road. My father-in-law owns the Edward Gay and Sons Family Farm. I am the representative at our market, which is the most adjacent business to where this facility will be located. I'd just like to go on record as stating that I do have concerns about the security. We are in the vicinity of no less than 5 schools, and my concern is also with the elopement possibility. I'm happy to hear that the variance is for an increased fence height, and I would just like to reinforce the importance of let's think carefully about the whole entire process and the picture of how it impacts the students, the families, the businesses nearby. That's a very big concern for me as well as my individual safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? To the commission?
Dale, if I might.
Go right ahead.
I appreciate the concerns that have been expressed by the people in the audience. When this project came to our attention a few years back, I expressed some concerns about it at that time. I have toured the facilities in Fayetteville a number of times, and I do share the concerns about security as one issue. And speaking only for myself in a very personal sense, I see the 12-foot fencing, and I appreciate and respect that, and the design and the elements in the program are good. The area right now on 412 and Haberton, as we head to the east, is somewhat green. It is somewhat rural. It is somewhat out there. I get that. It won't be that way in the future as we continue to grow the west side and we continue to try to grow our east side in this revitalized Springdale, not only the downtown area, but all of it, and Springdale in spirit. And I commend our mayor and others that have done a really good job with that. This is really a hard project for me in terms of support. In all of the things that we are trying to do, I'm just not sure that this fit in that location is exactly what we need and what we want, and is in what is in our best interest. I have followed this program for years, and I speak with a fair amount of knowledge. I respect the work, I respect the effort, but this is my home and my community now. So just as one person on this commission, this is a very difficult project for me to support. So
I just have one thing to remind you. We're not talking about whether or not it can go there. It's whether or not they meet the minimum standards, because the decision was already made when the property was rezoned.
Yep.
So now we're looking at, do they meet the minimum standards? They've addressed every concern that we've asked for. They have 2 variances in that they're trying to change the location of the landscaping and putting it around the fence and increasing the height of the fence. I think everything else has been addressed. Grady said they need to change the pipe size, and I think that's
Yes, ma'am.
easy.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
easy to be taken care of. As far as notification, I don't know what notification procedures they have to go through with the police department or anybody else for anything that happens at that location. That's not something that the planning commission takes care of. That's a work with the people who license that facility and the public safety departments of the city.
Can you go back to the above view? Is there a buffer between this facility and things to the immediate, like trees or something visible? That's the word. Buffering or
No, there's not.
it's not?
They're putting, can you go to the landscaping plan? I got one, I know, I've seen it. Well, it didn't get put into the site plan. They are required to do landscaping, but you'll see there's a large area to the east before you get to the subdivision, that's before you get to the church. 'Cause there is a row of commercial lots there along that access on Farrell Lane before you get to the church, so they're not right adjacent to the church anyway. There would be a chance for some buffering there. On the other side, there's screening with fence and landscaping along Haverton Road to the businesses to the east, and then there'll be the road itself. And you're not asking for waiver of street improvements, you're doing the street improvements on Haverton, so the street will be widened out to Master Street Plan standards, the full width of their property.
Correct.
It'll have a sidewalk, it'll have the fence and the landscaping at that location.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the head count facility wise? How many people are we?
And the parking and the stuff is designed, and the number of classrooms and all that is designed to meet the minimum requirements based on our ordinance for that kind of a facility with that number of people being involved and the number of classrooms that they have available.
Any other questions? We've got variances, landscaping and screening, do them together. Be a call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Call for vote, Mr. Covert.
Covert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cardell. Cloud. Compton.
No.
Passes 6-1. We'll do the large scale next, be a motion subject to staff comments.
Motion subject to staff comments.
Motion, Mr. Covert,
Second.
second by Ms. Mueller.
David,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cardell. Cloud. Compton,
No.
Covert.
Yes.
Large scale passes 6-1.
Is that it? Okay.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna show my ignorance. This also, in the Board of Adjustment, this is all, we're
You're all
done.
done at one time.
So I can go back to Brian. I love Northwest Arkansas, but I'm going back to Brian. And I am a Razorback.
But you're welcome to stay and listen to the rest of the
I
meeting
had
if
all
you
the
like.
Move on to large scale 2264 Village Travel Center with variances to be 22-104 and a waiver 22-22 presented by Luke Dolchek.
So my name is Jeff Harnsdorf, and I'm the owner of Village Travel. And just to give you a little perspective, so we're a charter bus company, and we're headquartered in Wichita, and we have 7 locations, and this Springdale is one of our locations. And this is a bus maintenance facility. People don't board the buses here. It's just it's where our offices are in our maintenance facility. So I just wanted to give that introduction, but I've got Luke, our architect, and Jeff Bates, our engineer, here just to answer any questions.
Staff comments?
In addition to staff comments, or standard comments, my apologies, perimeter landscaping is required in accordance with Chapter
Rick, you need to
56.
get closer to the mic.
Perimeter landscaping is required in accordance with Chapter 56. A variance has been requested. Front, side, and rear elevations are required. Elevations shall include type and color of materials used, foundation landscaping, and any other architectural features used to comply with the commercial design standards. A variance was requested. Where a facade faces adjacent residential uses or an area on the comprehensive land use plan designated for residential use, an earthen berm shall be installed no less than 6 feet in height, containing at minimum a double row of evergreen or deciduous trees planted at a 15-foot interval, plus all landscaping requirements set forth in Chapter 56 of the Springdale Code of Ordinances. A variance was requested. Continuous internal pedestrian walkways no less than 5 feet in width form the public sidewalk to the principal customer entrance of all principal buildings on the site are required. A variance was requested. Internal pedestrian walkways shall connect focal points of pedestrian activity and shall feature landscaped areas along no less than 50% of their length. A variance was requested. Foundation landscaping is required. A variance was requested. Central features and community spaces shall have direct access to the public sidewalk. A variance was requested. Facades over 100 feet in linear length shall incorporate wall projections and/or recesses per Springdale Commercial Design Standard. Variance was requested. Building facades shall include a repeating pattern with no less than 3 of the following: color change, texture change, material module change, expressions of architectural or structural bay through a change in plane no less than 12 inches in width, such as an offset, reveal, or projecting rib. At least one element must repeat horizontally, and no element shall repeat at intervals of greater than 30 feet horizontally or vertically, for which a variance was requested. Roof lines shall be varied with a change in height every 100 linear feet in the building length, for which a variance was requested. Parapets, gable roofs, high roofs, or dormers shall be used to conceal flat roofs and rooftop equipment from public view. Applicant has declared that this equipment is to be determined, but the design will conform to this requirement. Exterior ground-mounted or building-mounted equipment, including but not limited to mechanical equipment, utilities, and banks of meters, shall be screened from public view with landscaping or with an architectural treatment compatible with the building architecture. Applicant has declared that this equipment is to be determined, but the design will conform to this requirement. All rooftop equipment shall be screened from public view with an architectural treatment that is compatible with the building architecture. Applicant has declared that this equipment is to be determined, but that the design will conform to this requirement. When commercial development includes a fence or wall, the following guidelines standards apply. A, maximum fence height of a fence or wall shall be 8 feet tall. B, constructed of high-quality materials such as decorative blocks, brick, stone, cypress, cedar, redwood, and/or wrought iron. And C, maximum length of a continuous, unbroken, and uninterrupted fence or wall shall be 50 feet. Breaks shall be provided through the use of columns, landscaping pockets, transparent sections, and/or a change to different materials for which a variance has been requested. Sign design, materials, and placement shall be complementing of the overall architectural design of the building. The applicant has declared that the sign design is to be determined, but that the design will conform to this requirement.
Engineering comments. Street improvements are required for the dedicated right-of-way portion for which a waiver has been requested. The sidewalk needs to extend to the south property line and meet up with the sidewalk on the adjacent property. Please note that when 45th Street is extended as shown on the master street plan, the driveway will need to be reconfigured, but I imagine if the city builds that, we will help you figure it out. And all improvements should be contained on the subject property. There is some grading and the drive apron is partially encroaching.
Comments from the audience? To the commission?
You guys want to address some of the variances and why are you requesting the variance? Can we get to the elevations, like see what the building looks like?
Is there a specific item, or do you want me to just start from the top?
Well, let's start with the screening to the property, the adjacent property that is, you're asking for a variance for no screening requirements, correct?
Correct. On the south side, there's already an 8-foot fence that Acme has. And on the north side, there's an existing tree line. And our building is 3 or 4 feet down, lower than that. So the existing vegetation should screen the building.
Is that fencing, is that tree line on your property or the adjacent property?
It's right on the fence row, both.
So if the property owner decided to take it down, you wouldn't have any screening?
Just depends on which trees he got.
Well, you're required to screen because that is an agricultural use to the north and you're required to screen. So you need to, you don't want to put anything in there at all?
They want a chain link security fence around it, is what they would like to do. That's what's typical.
So your variance is to allow a chain link fence all the way around this property with no landscaping at all? 8-foot chain link fence?
6 foot.
6 foot?
We would do a wrought iron in the front where there's visibility and then chain link around the rest. And I mean, we're okay with doing trees around the property line where there's not already trees. But between Acme Brick and our facility, it's a really narrow area and it's actually a ditch and there's a fence that they already have. And
We're
so
not asking you to screen that side.
Okay. I guess that was on the landscape
Yeah.
plan.
So chain link fence with trees on the north and east side.
You would do chain link with trees?
Mhm.
Does the landscape plan show that?
It has them on the, next to the pavement, but we'll move them back to the fence.
And you'll show what trees are going to be remaining and what are going to be taken out? To
We're trying to
create that
preserve it.
screening?
So if you would, yeah, go back to that. So there's the building is the tan footprint there. The cluster of trees that you see is everything from the east edge of the building all the way back to the west property line. And so the new trees are proposed to be identified every, is it 15 feet or 25 feet? Where those are not.
Okay, so we would need some kind of a note that if those trees are removed, some have to be put back to maintain the same kind of screening. If you can keep all those trees there, that's fine, but when you take them out, you gotta put them back.
I'm totally okay with that.
Okay, then that note needs to be put on the large scale itself. so we have that record.
Okay.
Okay? You're not doing foundation landscaping, so you're doing additional landscaping along the,
And I sent in a newer plan this afternoon, and they are gonna do foundation. The smaller part is the office part, and we're gonna do foundation landscaping around it. Just the back part that you can't see as well, and it has asphalt or concrete all the way up, it's their service bays, so we can't put foundation landscaping there.
okay, so you just sent that today, so we haven't had a chance to look at that. So
No.
we can't tell you if it meets that requirement or not, okay? You said you're gonna meet the breaks in the roof or the covering the parapet walls if you put the equipment on the roof. You still don't know where the equipment's gonna go?
Currently, we're designing for split systems that will have condensing units on the north side, which would be, if you go back to that little floor plan there, the office portion, there's that white space between the tree row and that tan footprint there would have a patio condensing units that would either be vegetation or screened.
Okay, they have to
Fence.
be screened in, landscaped around, both, okay?
Would that be both
And the
or
other
one or the
building?
other?
The bigger buildings, the bays, are you going to do all internal heat and air units that hang inside?
Yes,
Okay, so you won't have any outside units on any of those?
correct.
Okay, so you can screen the ones with the office building itself. Okay, let's go back to what the building looks like. You want it to look just like what you're showing here.
Correct.
So the material on the front is all metal panels, just turned different direction?
Yes, so the front of the building would be the west elevation, and the blue metal panel is a higher-end architectural designer series panel. It is an elevated panel from the standard metal building panel.
Okay, what about the north side of the building?
The north side, so what you're looking at on the right-hand side or the west half is the office. That would be we have identified as a shadow rib. So again, it's a more elevated panel around the office piece. But the main shop bay on the east half would be a standard metal building panel.
Okay, and then the east end of that shop building is just a standard metal building on that end?
Correct.
No changes?
Just a
And
color
then-
change.
I'm sorry?
A color change?
So that, it'll be blue on that corner?
No, so on the northeast corner, so on the east elevation on the right-hand side is just a darker color.
A charcoal gray is what this
Charcoal
says.
versus the lighter gray. And then on the north elevation, the left-hand side would be the same metal panel, just a different color.
Okay, and what's the length of that building?
The overall length is, I believe, close to two. It's a little over 200 feet. The shop portion is 150 feet. Those are 25-foot bays, which is the larger element there. The office half is 62 feet.
A lot of this isn't visible from the public right away. If you go back and look at the site plan, that whole north side, you can't see it because we're at the end of the
The
cul-de-sac.
commercial design standards doesn't say it's only the sides that are visible to the public. It's the predominant material of the building. Has to be something other than a metal building. Property to the north could develop and you would be looking, if 45th Street is extended on as it's shown on that plat, there could be a building on that side. You'd be looking at, being able to see it from that side. Okay, that's the variances that they've asked for. I don't think unless somebody's got questions about something else, I think that's all of it.
Got any comments from the audience? Could you please go to the mic, state your name and address?
Dave Pruitt, 4877 North 45th Street, representing Acme Brick. On their initial plan here, they showed 2 retention ponds. Now I only see 1. One and 2.
There's one there and there's one there. I can clarify it. So this initial plan that I'm seeing here was our initial concept of this. And when we were working with Jeff Bates, we understood to do the one plan as what we're proposing here, or the one pond here.
Katie, did we ever see one with two on it? I don't remember seeing
No,
one.
that must have been conceptual, because I don't think we ever saw one with two ponds on it.
Okay.
This was a hand sketch we did in our office. So I don't know I don't know how you guys got that.
It didn't come from us. It didn't come from our office. We didn't hand it out.
Any other comments? To the commission?
Can you go back to the slide that has an image of the actual picture of the building? Will it look like that? Go back one, right there. Are you proposing something similar to the middle image?
So yes, the middle image there is their corporate headquarters in Wichita. And so the image at the top of the sheet is the proposed design for Springdale's branch. And we're just wanting to show the brand standard that we are creating and showing the similar materials. And so that same horizontal elevation there that's on the left-hand side is Wichita's as well.
Where did we end up on the variance? It seemed like they backed up on some of the requests. You know what our current status is on variance?
Well, they still have the pedestrian flow. They don't have breaks in the walls. They're still 100 feet on that back side and on the back. Basically, what you see here is what they're asking to get. The roof line is not broken. They're gonna put the equipment for the offices on the north side and landscape and screen that. There's no features, there's no sidewalk to the, is there a pedestrian access to the public sidewalk?
That's what I was wanting to address. It's,
Okay.
the grade is over 20% and 15% right in there, so I can't get a handicap accessible. And it's gated off. It's not public's not coming to this building. They don't have sales it's only employees. So we didn't connect down to the public sidewalk.
And you're asking for a waiver of street improvements, so you're not doing any of those improvements along 45th Street Extended?
Right, the
correct?
street to nowhere,
Well, the street to the adjacent property.
to nowhere.
It's no different than any others that we put on.
It's different if there's already, like we always do when there's a normal street and people are going by all the time
Mhm.
and we widen it. This is a dead end.
Today.
It may be 20 years. It may be 2
Could be.
months. I don't know.
Could be.
We're
And
asking.
is there some canopy, is there some covered parking? I saw in that drawing the
No
elevations.
covered parking.
There's no covered parking on all this
There,
is,
there was a proposed future fueling station on there that will not be happening to date.
okay, if you decide to do that, you gotta come back and do an amended plan. You can't just go put one up out there.
I understand.
Understand?
Okay. I think that's all I know anyway. Just like that time.
How does the commission want to handle all these variances, waivers?
I'd say take them all together, but.
Take them all together? Okay, it'll be a call for the vote for all the variances and waiver.
Do you have a question, Dr. Compton?
And it is indeed A through G, it's all of those?
All of those,
Mhm.
plus the
Okay,
waiver.
Okay.
No, the waiver would be separate.
Waiver separate?
Waivers, okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Call for the vote.
Call for vote, Mr. Colbert.
Mueller,
Yes.
Tyler,
No.
Cordell. Cloud,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David.
No.
Passes 5-2. Next is the large scale.
But let's talk about the waiver. What's the
Oh, I'm
waiver of the
sorry, the waiver.
stormwater detention, drainage requirements? What's the waiver of that? What waiver are you asking for?
I think that would just be the associated storm drainage with the street. They're doing all the storm drainage that they need on their site. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, at one time, okay. You're detaining and all that goes into the storm
She's a s-
drainage along the street, or it goes into the street itself?
It's going into, we changed it. It goes into the storm drainage.
Okay, because at one time it was just
Right.
gonna go into the street.
It goes into
That's
the.
why you needed to, okay, I
Yep.
just wanna make sure
We
we
fixed
knew
it.
what we were talking about, okay.
We corrected
Good thing the street goes to nowhere, huh?
it. And that's, yes.
Yeah, so it's just street improvements for the 45th Place extension, and this is a recommendation to council. And is engineering recommending payment in lieu of?
Yes.
Yes.
We're doing a recommendation to council for payment in lieu of.
That's engineering's recommendation. So we need a motion to how we want to,
Anybody want a motion on that?
Motion. So moved.
and that's recommendation to council for payment in lieu of improvements.
Yes.
Okay,
Motion by Ms. Mueller,
Second.
second by Mr. Cloud.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cardell,
Yes.
Cloud,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes.
That passes 7-0. Now we can go on to the large scale.
Yep.
This will be a motion subject to staff comments.
Motion, subject to staff comments.
Motion by Mr. Covert,
Second.
second by Mr. Cloud.
Cardell, Cloud,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David,
No.
Mueller,
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
6.
Passes 6-1.
Thank you.
staff will prepare the resolution to go to council on this, on the waiver on the 22nd.
Move on to Carrillo Holdings, presented by Nikki Littrell. Littrell, however you say it. However I should be saying it.
Hi, Nikki Littrell with Blue and Associates. We're just requesting a variance for the 70-foot road frontage requirement from 17.7 on the west side and 18.18 on the east side.
Staff comments?
Okay, so I gotta ask a question first. You're dividing this long, narrow track into two different lots.
Well, it's actually just adjusting it. It's already 2 lots. The previous property line is to the west there.
Okay, but do you have buildable lots on that second lot?
On the west or east side?
It looks to me like you would want to combine this all into one lot. I don't understand, okay, go back to the drawing before. Okay, the existing property line is over to the very far west of the property.
Yes.
And you're moving it over to where it lines up in the center of the street.
Yes, because they wanted more buildable area.
And that creates a buildable area on that side for a single-family home.
I'm
Because
assuming
that's all
so.
it can be used for.
Yeah, it's not being used for anything right at the moment. So
And then the other lot would contain 1.542 acres to build on that.
yes.
Okay. Can you get water and sewer to those lots?
Water, they do have plans for I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think a big pipe up at the north end facing the highway. And they've already met and talked to Springdale Water about that. My client has. And they'll likely probably be purchasing the lot on the west, I believe. So
Okay.
water, sewer, I'm not for sure.
Well, we can't allow a property to be redivided unless we know we can get water and sewer to each one of those lots. So where do it shows a sewer line across in that 30-foot utility easement? An 8-inch sewer
Yes.
line, so they're going to tie into both of those lots into that,
I'm assuming so.
okay? And I don't see, and the water comes up to the property on the new lot on the west side, but how's the water getting to the property on the east side?
I would have to look into that. I'm not exactly sure. They did, like I said, they did meet with Springdale Water, but I wasn't in that meeting, so I'm not exactly sure what that conversation
Because
was.
right now, that's all one lot has water and sewer provided to that one entire lot,
On the west side,
the existing lot.
there's two. There's two lots right now.
Well, but
This is a lot, and this is a lot.
yeah, but if you look at that previous drawing, the sewer line goes all the way over to that second lot. Now, but we don't show where you can get water to either one of them. What is the utility easement to be dedicated along there? Are you intending to put water or something in that utility easement?
Which one?
The one on the south side of the lot?
I'm really not sure.
We have a lot of not sures on this, if we're going to approve a variance to the frontages. See if we get any comments before we do any more.
Your comments from the audience? Please state your name and address at the mic, please.
Carrie Washburn, 4500 Gibson Street. The end of that road, there is actually a pre-approved hammerhead that is going in down there that is supposed to be being built the end of this year, because it is a dead-end street and it was not up to regulations. So they are doing a hammerhead right there.
They being the city is providing that.
Yes, the city.
Hammerhead in that location. Do you have that shown on there?
I don't believe so.
Does the property owner who owns it understand that that's what's going on?
I do not. I don't know.
Okay.
I wasn't aware of it.
I thought we had
either,
more
so-
unknowns than just the water and sewer on this because of that. I mean, we went through council to get that approved, to have that hammerhead, because we're having trash trucks and all kinds of things going down there and backing up and turning around in driveways, and that's why the hammerhead was done. And I thought the property owner, the current property owner, was contacted to get that hammerhead put in. Well, my suggestion is that we table this till we figure out what's going on.
Okay, that's fine, and I'll talk to the client about that as
Okay.
well. I don't know if he knew that.
This will be tabled per applicant.
Yep.
We'll move on to B 22-103, Rodrigo A. Leon, presented by Rodrigo A. Leon.
Hi, good evening. My name is Rodrigo Leon, and I was trying to request a variant from 3-foot fence to a 6.
Staff comments?
Is this your private residence?
And, well, I own everything there, but I don't live there right now.
Okay. What's going on in the property? How's the property zoned? Do we have a zoning? It's zoned SF1. So it's a single-family structure only. You can't
Yes.
operate a business there.
No business is operating there.
Okay, why do you need the
I just, the storage, I just use it to store some of my equipment that I use for my lawn business.
But you can't store equipment there for a business. It is zoned residential. Can't be used for storage for commercial use.
Okay.
And is that why you wanted the tall fence in the front, so you could screen that?
Well,
fence?
it has a 16-foot wrought iron fence, see-through inside, in front of the, if you can go back to the picture, you can see. It's just the two sides, but there's a big gate right there.
And when was that fence put up?
That was back in September.
Okay.
And
And the house that's adjacent to it, does that belong to you as well?
yes,
Okay, so you're really trying to fence off this property separately to be used for storage for your business? Because it's not going in front of the house.
Well, yeah, I divide kind of it's been split, kind of divided, yeah, because that house, I'm gonna lease it.
So the lease is the house?
Yes. I just, down the street on that same street, since it was Bethel Heights, there's another house down the street that already had a big 6-foot fence right in front of the house, and this is not in front of the house, so I didn't think about it that it would be an issue.
Well, the property is not in the city of Bethel Heights anymore. It's in the
Yeah, I
city of
understand, yeah.
Springdale. And we only allow a 3-foot fence in the front, not a 6-foot
Yes.
fence.
So I kind of did the same thing with the other gentleman that was here earlier, that I'd spend and did all that, but I didn't even think about it since there's another house down the street that already has a big 6-foot fence right in front of the house. And this is not in front of the house, it's just in front of the building.
Which is zoned residentially, not commercial.
Yes.
Okay.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission?
If it's zone commercial, could he have the fence there? That's not out of the question.
Well, maybe rezone it.
It can be taller than 3 foot in the front if it's commercial, but it'd have to be set back far enough that you don't block traffic
Yeah.
getting into it.
Sightline.
Yeah, the question is, would we want to rezone that in the middle of all that residential, one commercial lot in the middle of that? Right now, we only have the question of the height of the fence. Okay.
So it could only be 3 foot right there.
You could put a 3-foot fence there, yes.
That was just, I just hate to tore it down. It's not really blocking the driveway or anything. It's connected to the one to the side house.
Well, the one to the side of the house can't be higher than 6 foot from the front of the house out to the street. So from the front of the house to the front of to the edge of the street can only be 3 feet. So the variance is to increase the height of the fence from 3 to 6, the way as it installed. Did you install all that way down the side between the house and this piece of property?
You mean the corner up, going up? Or,
It looks like it's all new fence.
yeah, it divides the house and the building.
Okay, and you built it all the way down the side of the house too?
Yes.
Okay. This is a call for the vote.
This will be a call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Call for vote, Mr. Covert.
Cloud?
Yes.
Yes. Compton?
Yes.
Covert?
Yes.
David?
No.
Euler?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Cordell?
6-1 passes.
You can keep the height of the fence, but you can't operate a business there.
Yes, thank you.
Can't store business stuff there either.
Next is B 22-108, Barmack property.
You skip. Oh. We did Renzi, yeah,
We
you're
did
right.
that, yeah.
You're right.
Presented by ESI.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brandon Rush with ESI. We also have the property owner.
I'm Rick Barrows. I'm the bar part of the Barmack, so. And as the gentleman said earlier, as someone who served on a planning commission for many years, I really respect and appreciate your service to this community. And I'm not trying to sway your vote or anything, but I do appreciate your service.
Having been here once before, you know
I
what it's
do,
like.
I do. It's kind of having flashbacks sitting here for 3 hours, so.
Any staff comments? No staff comments?
No, go ahead. Tell us, you want to change you want to put in a 6-foot chain link fence in lieu of an 8-foot privacy fence. You store materials outside.
Yes, and I think, with the work at Multicraft and the rehab of the old Moore tire thing there, I think my work kind of represents itself as what kind of work we want to do. And it's really kind of silly to spend the money to do a screening fence between trailer vans on the west side and just a flat building wall on the east side. And there are trees already along the south end of this property. This property connects the corner, the southwest corner of this connects to the existing northeast corner of the existing modern fence land, and that's why we were interested in it. We secured an easement from the property owner immediately west of this building to where we can connect those two and grow our business and connect those two facilities. So we certainly want to we want to spend our money on the attractive part of this effort on Turnbow there. And there's already a 6-foot fence between us and the building, the Profab building to the east, and we will build a fence on the west side.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission?
Is the dumpster visible, Rick?
Well, there will be no dumpster at this point in time. We're going to supplement our large scale, and we're going to have a storage building and maybe modify the detention pond there. Shame on me for not paying a little more attention when we were, instead of doing the ready, fire, aim thing here, but we're going to make some modification. We'll have a storage building that will run on the west side, 3-sided building to store trucks and fence posts and things of that nature in. The building we will hold up on probably for a year to see what happens with our economy, and then we'll resubmit on that too. And of course, if we have a dumpster out there, we'll screen it.
This will be a call for the vote. Call for the vote. Mr. Cloud.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cardell,
Yes.
Cloud.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you, and I'm impressed with your technology here too. We used a big Chief tablet and
Big crayons, right?
But thank you all.
Move on to waivers. We have W-22-21, Eric and Jill Miller, presented by Eric and Jill Miller.
Hi, I'm Jill Miller. We're just requesting, we're building off Wagon Wheel. We put a private road in off Wagon Wheel Road. There's a low water crossing bridge up to our property. I'm just requesting to waive the sidewalk.
Staff comments?
You know, I don't usually recommend it, but this would be a sidewalk out in the middle of nowhere.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission, this will be a call for the vote.
Now, this is a motion to
Oh,
council
I'm sorry.
to.
It is a motion to
recommend
council to
the-
recommend the waiver.
Yeah.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Mueller.
Second.
Second by Mr. Colbert.
Covert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cardell,
Yes.
Cloud,
Yes.
Compton.
Yes.
It passes 7-0.
Thank y'all.
Staff will prepare the resolution that goes to council on the 22nd.
Next is W-22-20, oh, we already did that, didn't we?
Done that. We're on the
We're
planning
on the planning
schedules,
commission
other
schedule.
stuff.
We're going to the other stuff.
You will see a new schedule. The only thing I need to point out is the July meeting will be on a Wednesday because the 4th of July is on Tuesday. And so it proposes to move the planning commission meeting to July the 5th, which is a Wednesday. Everything else is pretty standard for what we've been doing. But if you approve the schedule, then we publish it and everybody knows what the submission deadlines are supposed to be, that everybody's supposed to submit by. Because it says it is the deadline
And they always do.
yeah.
I need
It's
a
supposed to
motion.
be set in stone, but it sure is flexible over time. But we do need a motion to approve the schedule.
Motion to approve schedule as stated.
Motion, Mr. Colbert.
Second.
Second by Ms. Mueller.
David,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cardell, Cloud,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. We got expansion of a nonconformity in a C2. Remo for Bacchus, presented by Rosara Cantu
Hi.
and Eugenio Torres Martinez.
Hi, my name is Rosaura Rangel or Rosaura Cantu, and I live on 1104 Bacchus Avenue. We just purchased that area, that lot, and the house is kind of weird because it doesn't have a really a shape. So everyone doesn't know where the main entrance is, and everyone get lost on where they should go through the main door. So we want to add a few things. We want to add a back porch. So the one that we have is really narrow and it's really hard to get all the groceries without getting wet. And we also want to add a front deck on the east side of the house. So that will help us to protect also the main door and the main entrance because there is not any roof or anything that cover that area. And on the west side, we would like to expand a little bit the house. We have the hallway that you see there, it's outside the house. So that area, it was built in the ground. So there are no insulation, there are nothing there. So all the like water or humidity is going to the main wall of the house. So we wanna remove that area and fix it, but because we wanna do that, we wanna see if we have the opportunity to expand at least to, I think it's 6 feet, so we can make kind of have everything aligned to the main living room. As you can see, we have the 64 feet, but we wanna make the house to be like all aligned to be just one single square, if that makes sense.
Staff comments? I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I know this is a not conforming use for the house because my understanding is that it's a C2. So we want to make that expansion because in the future, I hope that will help us to get the building, have a better appearance to the neighborhood, but also it can be used as an office space or something like that. And because we have a shop in the back, we were talking about like maybe in the future, just to rezone everything and leave it as a C2.
Staff comments?
Doesn't exceed the 30%. Only planning commission can approve it to be expanded, and this is a 26% expansion.
Yeah.
And she knows that you can't use it for commercial use and live there too.
That's correct. I live in there. That's my primary residence. We know that the back, we have a shopping in the back that we are not using only for our personal storage or
You're not
cars and
operating a
everything.
business there either.
No, we are fixing it for our own use, but we are gonna fix it as a commercial building. Just because if I'm gonna put the money to fix it right now, and my plan is maybe in 5 years, change it to a C2, have it already prepared for that instead of doing it again, if that makes sense.
Any comments from the audience? To the commission? This is a motion.
This would be a motion to authorize an expansion of a non-conforming use not to exceed 26%.
Motion so moved.
Motion by Ms. Mueller. Second by Mr. Colbert.
Mueller,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cardell,
Yes.
Cloud,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
You still need to go to building inspection to get the
Yes.
proper permits for it.
Yes, I have a big list for the building that I need to fix. So, yes, I will get the permit and I know the drill.
Thank you.
Thank you so much and have a good evening.
Next is L 21-24, PSC Indoor Soccer Extension, presented by Rick McGraw.
Good evening. I'm Rick McGraw with Harrison French and Associates. Happy to answer any questions you may have about the project.
You're asking for a 1-year extension?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Is that all the staff comments?
Yep.
Any comments from the audience? to the commission. This will be a motion.
To grant a one-year extension to the approved L2124 PCS indoor soccer extension.
Motion as stated.
Motion, Mr. Covert,
Second.
second by Ms. Mueller.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cordell? Cloud? Compton?
Yes.
Covert?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Mueller?
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Last is PP 2116, Hackberry Woods Extension, presented by Expedient Civil Engineering.
Jason Ingles with Expedient Civil Engineering. It's been right at a year since we came before and got this board and got a approved preliminary plat. One thing that we didn't have worked out before we came before the commission was there's a sewer capacity issue out in this area, and it took like 6-7 months to get that negotiated with Springdale Water, pay our fees. So that's why we're asking for this extension to allow
One-year
us to build
extension?
this. Yes,
1
ma'am.
year?
Yes, ma'am.
Same motion, except it's a preliminary plat.
Same motion.
Motion to approve as stated.
Motion, Mr. Covert,
Second.
second by Ms. Mueller.
Cordell?
Yes.
Cloud? Compton?
Yes.
Covert?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Mueller?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes. It passes 7-0.
Thank you.
All right, we're down to the planning director's report.
City Council approved all the rezoning requests that were moved forward to them. McRae, the A1 to C2, the east side of Jean George, south of Members Lane from C5 to MF24, Old Missouri Road from I1 and C2 to C5, and South 48th Street from A1 to MF24. They approved the conditional use for the healthcare facility at 2307 Turner Street, the replats of Lot 4, Block 1 of Sam's Club Edition, and the final plat for Deer Creek subdivision. Council authorized grant requests for carbon reduction funds to study trail extensions for Spring Creek Trail from the Game and Fish facility under I-49 to 56th Street, and another study for the extension of the Watkins Trail from 48th Street to Cambridge Street. They authorized the sale of the property at 2226 McCullough Drive for a workforce housing project. We've been working with some developers for a year or more now. Authorized entering into a non-binding letter of intent pertaining to property at 1403 Powell Street for possible purchase. Authorized the expansion of the downtown Springdale Outdoor Dining District, expanded the boundary along Holcomb Street and changed the hours. Authorized a contract for rehab of the Ritter McDonald Log Cabin at Shiloh Museum, and upheld the Planning Commission's approval of the large-scale development plan for Patton Industrial Park, which had a cell tower, had an appeal by a adjacent property on the site plan review, or site plan approval. I would like to suggest that we have our work session on Tuesday the 15th at 5:30 to do one final review of the updated downtown master plan before it goes to public hearing at the next planning commission in December. I think everybody got a copy of the slides and the presentation that was made to council, and give you a chance to kind of talk about the details and all that, and then it'll go to the planning commission on December 6th for a formal public hearing, and then we would be in a position to recommend it to city council for approval at the first council meeting in December. If anybody's got any questions or comments about the master plan between now and then, let me know, or we'll discuss it. We're looking at probably having the meeting in the Shiloh Meeting Hall, so we have a little bit more room, and we can put the presentation up there, and everybody has a chance to look at it then too. Just a reminder, we have secured the All-American Steakhouse party room. I don't know what it's called. Side room.
It's the back room.
It's the back room there for Tuesday, December the 20th for 6 to 8. Like for everybody to be there, bring your spouses. We'll just have a time to get together, have a little whatever you want off the menu, and it's always a good time to get together with family. So. Merry Christmas Springdale. If you haven't signed up for it, I think all of the 5:30 slots have been filled, but the next one is at 7:30. So if you haven't filled out one of those, you need to get with Sarah so she knows that you're planning on attending. Yes, we'll be do officer nominations next month. Yes, we will. Okay? And that's all I have.
All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All right, let's adjourn.